Oh gosh. You guys, my computer has gone haywire tonight. What's up? This must be an important show. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm Jessica Jones. I'm the Cryptid Huntress. And we are in for a wild ride tonight. You guys, not only do we have one remote viewing target to go over tonight, we have three. Okay, three separate, completely different targets. We figured that we're just going to put them all together tonight. And one of them is super interesting. I had never heard of, I actually never heard of any of these before. Okay. And I wasn't really familiar with this hand. Okay. The Bigfoot looking hand thing that we're going to go over tonight. However, I have remote viewed it. My target, my data was right on target too with this. So you guys go get your popcorn, buckle up. If you hadn't seen the title of the show yet, we're going to be talking about the hand of unknown origin. All right. That is something that a man who is a Bigfooter, I believe his name's Don Monroe, has in his possession actually. And it has been highly scrutinized, looked over, and passed around the entire country for some time, given to this gentleman by a police department because they said it wasn't a human hand. And I guess the jury is still out on it. But tonight, I think I've got some answers on what that hand might be. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the sources of the voices in people's heads. Not everybody's as crazy as they might think, okay? Because there might be some kind of technology or something that's putting some thoughts and voices inside people's heads. We're going to talk about that tonight too. And we're going to talk about the light wars, okay? So I can't wait. I have Barry Littleton in the studio tonight. We're going to have a great discussion this evening. So you guys get ready. If you would like to follow along with all of my shows, I do have a website. That's the Cryptid Huntress. .com. Just go there. All my shows are there. They're all updated. You can also listen to me on Spreaker, on all the podcasting platforms. You guys can listen to the Cryptid Huntress. Just look me up. You'll find me there. And I'm on Rumble as well. So please go check me out on Rumble and give me a follow over there if you haven't already. Also, all of the data for all three targets tonight is listed on Patreon. Patreon, it's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. And shout out to all my Patreon members. You guys are the best. All the raw data is posted there right now. And all the information about all the targets is there as well. I also have a shop that's called War Woman Goods. If you'd like to support me and my show, just go buy some jewelry. And I want to thank everybody for all your continued support. You guys are awesome. And I also do have a channel membership where I do put exclusive content up there. And you guys get specials too. A lot of times, discounts on the card readings. I have been doing card readings all week. Thank you guys for the outpouring of support over that with all of my channel members who got readings from me. I have 2 left. I've done all of them except for 2. And I'll be finishing those up tomorrow. So you guys, thank you so much for all that. If you guys would like a reading with me, I do intuitive card readings. You can find that on my website. Just scroll down and you'll see the box where you can get one for yourself. All right, well, let's get to our show tonight. Oh man, because we have a ton to talk about and I don't want to waste any time as usual. Okay, let me read a little intro as to what we're going to be talking about tonight. In 2003, Don Monroe, a researcher and a caver and adventurer, was called by law enforcement officials because of his background in tracking, hunting, and trapping animals in Montana. They had been given a severed hand that someone found in a landfill. They told him that they could not identify where the hand came from, and it was obviously not human. The tips of the fingers had been removed, and the hand was skinned. After Don examined it, he could not identify it. They let him take the hand so that he could look into what this hand belonged to. The hand toured North America, went to museums, to scientists, to Bigfoot researchers. It was examined and it was studied, and to this day, the origin is still unknown. Thus, the name, the hand of unknown origin. Okay, so that's that's the first target we're going to talk about tonight. The second target is there's a very important part of mental health concerning the truths about the phenomenon of people hearing voices, also erroneously called auditory hallucinations, and it's often misdiagnosed as brain imbalances, and mostly cannot be scientifically verified with baseline data. All right, then the third target, okay, that second target is where are these voices coming from? Okay, it's may not all be in their heads or my head. I don't know. I'm not going to say I hear voices. Who knows? Okay. All right. So, and the third one is the light wars. Okay. So, what exactly is this hand? Where did it come from? What was it attached to? What's the story behind it? We're going to get into that tonight. And also, what are the voices? I was given 3 blind remote viewing targets at 3 separate times. We're just kind of putting them all together tonight. They were all given to me by Barry Littleton. Now, Barry is a cutting edge researcher, a very good friend of mine. You guys can find him over at Barry Littleton on YouTube and on Patreon. And you can also run into Barry at some conferences all over the country. Okay. And if you haven't already, please go subscribe to his channels and become a member of his Patreon. Please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? What's going on? Oh boy, thanks for having me again, and hello to your audience. You know, this is one of those ones that I hope I don't pull you too far out of there, because I've stepped on some toes on some of these subjects, and that's just the way it is. Some things I won't back off on because experience and data talks a little bit more than rumor. You know what I mean? So we'll stick with that. But these are 3 interesting subjects. I appreciate you doing each one of them. And I think it's cool that we're kind of bringing all 3 of them together tonight. Although I must admit, I'm somewhat surprised that, of all people, you didn't know who Don Monroe was.
I heard his name. I just wasn't really familiar with all of this. Oh, I live in a little bubble over here. So
that's cool. You know, he's kind of behind or in tune with a lot of things that MK Davis does. And when it came up to that giant handprint that was found in, oh Lord, I don't want to get this wrong. It's Lovelock cave, right? There's where the redhead giants were. There was a huge giant handprint on the wall there. And from like where they touched the tar on the top and then touched the side. I mean, this thing was, it was larger than their big hunting knife thing. So I think it was pushing a foot long or so. It was just huge. And it got vandalized and erased. But it was Don Monroe that found that. Don Monroe was also the guy that took all the pictures of those redhead giants in that museum. The ones that several of them disappeared, those skulls.
Oh.
That's who really found that out and has pictures of both before it was raided and then after. So interesting guy, you know, and that's why I sent you that link concerning them, and just real interesting the whole subject is. So thanks for doing it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Wow. Well, that explains a lot too. I mean, he's a pretty well-respected gentleman in his community. The law enforcement officials obviously knew him as a big game hunter, a trapper, and probably a Bigfoot field researcher too, I would assume, because that hand that is in question tonight that I remote viewed, it does look like, at first glance, it looks kind of like a human hand. Or it did, but it was really hairy. Now, I actually have some other examples that I'm going to show the audience tonight for the people who are watching, of other hands that look suspiciously like a Bigfoot, okay, that have been found, at least 2 or 3 others. One was actually found, it said that it was found in a cougar's mouth. It was chomping down on a hand. A hunter found it. And it looks like it's a big, hairy humanoid hand. Another one, we also have, you know, the I guess it was in Nepal. I think there was the top of like a cone shaped skull, or the top of a head, and then like a hand that they say was a Yeti hand and a finger. I think
that got tested. I think it was like yak hair or something like that. That one got tested.
Oh, dang
it was on one of those shows.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe Ancient Aliens. I don't want to speak too far about it because I just know that one of those supposed ancient artifacts got tested and didn't turn out to be what it's supposed to be. You know, but
okay.
But still, there's still the anomaly still out there. That doesn't change it. You know, something about that hand. It was found in this trash can and then given to Don Monroe, and he tried to analyze it with some sort of acid or something. He put it in that ruined the DNA off of it, even
Alcohol.
down to the marrow. They can't get marrow off of it either, if you notice, because I mean they've had tests done on this thing and X-rays and everything. It's quite interesting. And like I want to say not the corporal, like not the corporal tunnel, but the corporals are off on the hand. And there's some things about it, but as far as size wise, it's just a little bigger than an average hand. So it's not that it's some huge one, but when you start getting down to some of the other hominids that have been discovered, like for example, and I noticed that MK Davis brought this up, which joyed me no end. Homo naledi that was found in California in those tar pits. And Homo naledi is another type of hominid that when you actually see how it walked, it had double pronation of the knees, which is actually makes it hard for normal people to walk. But it's the same thing that Patty had. So when they actually represented, what's that guy's name? Excuse me, Jeremy De Silva. He's an archaeologist, and he had actually put up, or anthropologist, he put up, him and his team put together how Homo naledi would actually have walked. And I swear when you see this CGI reproduction of it, it looks just like Patty. Patty had double pronouncing of the knees. So that's something to be, kind of taken seriously. And even down to where there's that Monster Quest where they have the guy in the outfit and the athlete, and he's trying to do all that, and he can't walk like Patty. So, I mean, these are things that are being shown. I don't want to go over myself too much, repeat myself, but I had mentioned before that Colorado Bigfoot video where the thing gets up. They say they run it over it, and it go back, and it gets up, and it kind of seems like it's run out of the darkness, but it's going like this. And, at first I thought it was like just BS because of that, the way the arms were flailing. But Thinker Thunker did a real detailed analysis of that. And that thing is running with hyper double pronation of the knees. So what is that? These are things, just little things like that we just need to, I think, take seriously when looking at things, data and atomically.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was brilliant that you gave me this as a blind remote viewing target. That's pretty brilliant. It's pretty cool. And I wanted to show pictures of this hand, but I want to warn the audience. Okay. I want to warn you. It looks like I'm not going to say what I think it looks like. Okay. But, it is dinner time and people might be eating. So I just want to give you a warning before I show the pictures because it is a hand. Okay. And it's been through the ringer pretty much. I think that they've had this frozen for a while. It was maybe what he was saying in that video that you sent me with MK Davis in it. By the way, I have just been asked to speak at the East Alabama Town Hall coming up with MK Davis. Man, Barry, I wish you lived closer. Yeah, it's not till January, but I get to speak. Not with him. We're going to get separate presentations, but I'll be at that town hall with him. So y'all come see us. Okay. It's Alabama. But I was watching that video that you sent and what was the name of that YouTube channel? Sasquatch Theory or what? Do you remember the name of it?
Oh gosh, I should know. I'll as you're talking, I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, let me explain what I was going to say. So I was watching that with MK and it was Don Monroe, it was MK Davis and a couple of Don's friends and the host. And then there was a lady who actually has the hand in the hand in her possession. Is my microphone cutting out, you guys? It seems like my audio is kind of bad. So listen, StreamYard just like cut me off as soon as I started. I got kicked out of StreamYard for some reason. So we're having some technical issues tonight here. But let me know if my microphone is bad. Okay, so because I can switch it. All right. But I was watching that video that you sent me, and it is bad. Okay. I'm sorry. I might need to hold on. Let me unplug my mic, y'all. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second.
That didn't start till just before we went live. I do believe it's an attempt to detour what we're talking about, to be quite honest with you. Which doesn't surprise me.
Okay. All right. Is that better? Oh, can y'all? Okay. Just let me know. I'm just going to keep talking. Okay. Show must go on. Really odd though, right? So, no. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. We got to see. I have to fix things as they go wrong. I don't want to like ruin the show here. Okay. But anyway. Okay. So I was watching that video that you sent. And so they went live, and it was a really interesting show. And Don Monroe was talking about how he had actually put the hand in. He was advised to put it in alcohol. Okay, I think it was alcohol, and I don't know if it was like a rubbing alcohol or what, but it was some kind of alcohol. And and like you said, it ruined it. Okay, now I'm going to show the. I'm going to go ahead and show it. All right.
Hey,
So
I got it real quick. It's called the YouTube channel is called Discover Sasquatch, and the name of video is DS welcomes MK Davis and Don Monroe for the hand of unknown origin. That's a really good one. I mean, so much scientific stuff is on there. The examinations they had done by the doctors, also the X-ray, and they show the hand. That's actually it. It is technically on ice, like you said. Sorry, I didn't mean to slip that in.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on here. Hold on. Okay, I don't know if I guess you can hear me. I don't know what's going on. My camera cut out. Okay, I may have to log out here in just a second. Hey, you just won't be able to see me for a minute here. Hopefully my mic will sound better. Okay, so it was pretty fascinating, though. I don't know who advised him to put that in alcohol, though. My first thought would be potentially let's put it in formaldehyde or something. I'm going to go ahead and show the pictures, okay? And I'm going to try to fix my camera while I show pictures. All right, this is it, everybody. Prepare yourself. All right, there we go. It just looks like meat. Okay, kind of. It's kind of gross, right? But Barry, can you kind of explain to the audience what this is? I mean, because the fingertips from the top knuckle up are cut off on all fingers, and the thumb is missing. It's been cut off.
It's a chopped up hand. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. No, there's as you kind of explained it. The thumb has been cut off, and the fingertips themselves have been cut off. So I guess it would be maybe about a half inch longer if it was actually straightened out. And you can see like things like when they do the analysis on that video, they talk about how the knuckles and the other parts of the hand, the cartilage, are not where they would be on a human hand. So it's not human, but it's similar. By the same token, it's not an ape hand either, or a gorilla hand either. It's not a bear hand. Everybody tried to dismiss this as a bear hand, but they distinctively show on that video, along with the doctor's report, that is not a bear hand, and so that's kind of there. Like I said, and when you look at, if anybody wants to look up Homo naledi, Naeldi, I believe, naledi, look at the hands of Homo naledi. It looks somewhat similar to that. So when dealing without going too much in the data already, because I want you to go over that, but what you had said, and when you go over the data, I'll say what I think's going on, how I think that thing came to be, and some things that you said kind of only support my hypothesis.
Okay, hold on. All right, I'm sorry. I had to log out. I had to log out and come back in. So I don't know what you just said. I couldn't hear you. But that is okay. I'm sorry. I totally missed that, Barry.
That's all right.
I did a little switcheroo here. So hopefully my mic and my camera are working better now.
The mic this is terrible.
It is.
It sounds like you're the hole.
Okay,
I'm sorry. It's all right. We can get through it. Don't worry about it. I was just describing actually how certain parts of the hand that they were talking about in that video, how it's different from a human hand, but similar, but also not an ape hand or gorilla hand or chimpanzee hand. And everybody tried to dismiss it as a bear hand at first, and they showed in that video that's decisively not a bear hand. So, and I mentioned too, if the tips were on it,
definitely not.
It might be about a half inch longer, maybe. So that's all.
Okay. Well, okay. So I think they were saying from the wrist up to the fingertips, if it still had fingertips on it, it would be about 9 inches. Okay. About 9 inches. It was about 7 inches from the wrist where it was cut. Okay. Because it was severed. It was cut in some form or fashion. And to where the fingertip is, the existing fingertip is 7 inches, and it'd be about 9. Now, I find that interesting because I was talking to a very good friend of mine today, one of my fellow researchers. He's in the chat. David Pardue's in here tonight. And David has some really interesting evidence, actually, of a handprint. It was at one of his. That's not the handprint. That's actually the hand. But I have some pictures here that I'll show. I do have David's permission to show these tonight, and he was up at one of his research areas in a national forest in North Carolina, and they had some Bigfoot activity the night before. They found a big, gigantic handprint on, I think it's an outhouse, like a bathroom area, a bathroom building, a restroom, and it had a huge handprint. Now, this is a big handprint. So apparently something was going, kind of like peeking out everybody from behind this outhouse building. Wow. Here, let me see if I can get, here's a picture with size comparison here, because he said this is about a 9-inch print from the wrist up to the fingers. And see, there's his hand right there beside it. That's about 9. That's a big handprint. Okay, so this would be about the size of the hand that we're discussing tonight. And he said it's about 6 inches across too. Yeah, that's a Bigfoot handprint, by the way.
I mean, I'm sorry. I just gotta. I know I'm gonna get booed by the audience, but it is what it is. You can't tell me that you see something like that, it'll creep you out a little bit. You know, something like that was looking at that right from behind the deal, playing the old Batman invisible thing, which you know. But I mean, it's still that's a very big head, and that's just a bit disconcerting. You know, I was watching these this video, and I can't tell you what this one's called, but it was this snow trackway and these footprints right in front of each other, going up this embankment, going up this ledge, and the people are trying to follow it. These guys are out of breath, and there was nothing around it at all. And I mean, just so when you start dealing with that type of strength, power, and size, don't you find that a little bit intimidating? I mean, the whole Forest Brother thing doesn't always cover everything, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and this, well, see, here's the thing. I think this was actually close to where the base camp set up. And so there were people that were camped out. This was in a campground. So this is where the people were camped out. And this was the bathroom that they were using. So imagine going to the restroom in the middle of the night, knowing that this is the second handprint. There's 2 handprints here, actually. This is the first one they found, I believe. And then the other print that I showed you a while ago, that was the second handprint that they found on the same building. So there were 2. So it was actually holding one side and peeking around the corner, and it had its other hand on the back of the building. And that's a huge handprint. You can see that ruler right there. Those are inches. Okay. It is 9 inches from the fingertip down to the bottom.
Jessica, did he happen to mention was there a bunch of oil on the prints too? Were they oily?
He said that there were, oops, hold on. I'm trying to get this comment to come up. They move so fast. I have to catch them as they move. He said there were dermal ridges on the left hand. So that means like you could see the fingerprints and everything on this. It was muddy. Okay. So I'm sure that's mud and oil kind of combined right there. But it's mostly dirt and mud. And you could tell by the first pictures I showed, it looked like there was pollen or something. It may have just been mud, but it was dirty. I mean, you know, the Forest Service doesn't go out and scrub the outside of those buildings very often, probably. So it's pretty primitive out there in those places that we go. But I don't see, let's see, I'm looking at the comments. It was probably, it probably is just oil and dirt for the most part. I mean, but to leave a big old handprint like that, I mean, to me, it looks as though it was probably crawling on the ground with its hands to have that much mud there. Don't you think?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
oh, David says that he said that it was covered in green mold. So I think the building was covered in green mold, and that's what allowed the handprints to show up so well.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes. And I thought it was really great. I asked David if it was okay if I showed these pictures tonight. It's for a size comparison. So everybody could see like how big this hand is. It's a big one. Okay. It's a big hand. So nonetheless, okay, this hand has gone all over the place, to museums. At some point, this is a picture of Don Monroe. I've not ever talked to Don. Maybe we can get him on the show sometime. That would be awesome. That's him. He said that he has hunted bear for a long time. Okay, so he knows the difference between like a human hand, like a potential Bigfoot hand or whatever this could be, and a bear paw. Okay, now bears could once you take the skin off. If you were to skin a bear's hand, okay, they have similar bone structure as a human hand, but it's still different. Okay, and at some point, Don went to a chiropractor. According to what I saw on that show, he went to a chiropractor and had a X-ray of his hand made, and they X-rayed the hand of the unknown origin hand, and they put them side by side, and they are different. Okay, it's not exactly a human hand, but it looks very similar. It looks more kind of like a Bigfoot hand, in my opinion,
or some type of hominin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, only thing we have is it's just not the large size we would expect. But could it have been a juvenile, or could it have been one of these types that are just not as big, which I noticed lately are getting talked about more and more. The Sasquatch that are not the large types.
Right.
And like I said, I would ask everybody to look up Homo naledi of the hominids and look at its hand structure. It looks somewhat similar to that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's noteworthy, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, somebody I just found this online. Okay, so I'm not sure who to give the credit to for this, but someone had actually gone in and really examine this. Okay, so this is so you guys can read that if you want. Take a screenshot. It just shows you, it gives you the layout of what the hand actually looked like. Now, I believe that when he went to the police station, he got the phone call. They had found this hand in a landfill. Okay, someone had found the hand near a landfill in Montana, and I think whoever found it thought it looked like a human hand.
Which hand are you talking about now? You talking about the Monroe hand?
Unknown. Yeah, the unknown hand.
That it was found in a trash can, and then it was given to him by somebody that he knows. But he sent it to, after he ruined it, he sent it to the police, and the police sent it back because they couldn't identify it. Because at first they thought they might have a homicide on their hands, but they couldn't identify it. So they wound up sending it back to him. And then he let all these other people, then he gave it to Melbourne Ketchum, and they think that Melbourne had taken tried to get some of the bone marrow out of there for some analysis and things. But even the bone marrow is not able to be tested. It's messed up or something. So
is that so when they found it, see, because I'm just learning about this hand. Okay. So when they found it, had the tips of the fingers already been cut off? Were they cut off when they found the hand, or did scientists cut those off?
Yeah, no, they're already cut off like that. Only thing that he messed up, I think, was especially the hair and everything that was on. There were several groups of hair that he messed up when he did that dip or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm just going to tell you, because the data that you have kind of supports it. What I kind of see, all right, is that you have probably most likely what I thought seems to be something that isn't probably aggressive. And I would suspect that maybe it was something that got caught in perhaps one of those marijuana fields, because we know that Sasquatch likes marijuana. It is what it is. And they go, and I think one of them could have been caught in one of those traps. Those hunters put out some of the most sophisticated traps that there are, to the point to where military trained people can't always get past them. So I think that maybe you could have had something like that, and they somehow got trapped. And this hand did it, either cut its own hand off or something to get loose. And these people probably just, if they're growers, they're probably just dumped it in the trash. I mean, who knows? It's something, or it's somebody leaving a clue. It's a clue that was left.
Could be. I think it's more likely that it was the first option. I think, because, well, do you want to get into the data? Should we just get into the data, and we can continue this conversation? Because I got to tell you, I did this target, and then you asked me what I thought it was. Now, I don't know if you looked at the drawing that I did, and I mean, because I can tell you exactly what I was seeing right when I got into this target. I was seeing a large animal picking leaves out of a tree. And I wrote down several different animals, because at first I was picking up on like something like a elephant or like a large cat or something, because I was just seeing like a big animal. I couldn't tell what it was, and then I wrote Bigfoot. Okay.
That's
I wrote
fun.
Bigfoot. And what I was seeing was like a Bigfoot picking I wrote I drew a picture of what looks like a honeycomb. Okay. So I thought, well, what I was looking at was something grabbing at honey, like could have even been a bear or something, but I wrote down Bigfoot. But I was seeing what looked like a honeycomb. And the picture, I just want to show the audience the picture that I drew. There's a picture that's actually a hand grabbing leaves. Okay, like a hairy hand. Okay, so I know I'm not a wonderful artist, but what I was seeing was something reaching up into a bush or a tree and grabbing things like fruit. I actually wrote fruit. I wrote vegetation. Wait, what did I write? Let me find it. I wrote fruit. It was picking leaves or fruit or honey for sure. Let's see, I have 3 pages here. I have 2 on this one. Okay. I just thought it was something picking out of a tree. And I thought, man, that's kind of a basic target there. Okay. It's kind of simple and basic. It's just like an animal picking something out of a tree. Now, I didn't pick up on anything where anything I got a sneak attack. I did get a sneak attack. So whatever it said, open-ended sneak attack. Something that was furry. Okay, let me just go over all the data. How about that? Let's just start at the beginning. Okay, so I was picking up on something that was dark brown or a light brown, or something that was in between a dark brown and a light brown, friendly, gigantic. I wrote tasted, eating, and tired, opaque and tired. So like I was picking up on something that was eating a lot. It was like eating and it was tired. Okay, so through my analytic overlay, I was picking up on something that was covered up, absent, friendly giant. I wrote friendly giant and I wrote green giant. Okay, I wrote off the vine. And then I picked up on something that was like an elephant. I wrote elephant and I wrote feline because I was just seeing like a big animal and I was trying to figure out what I was looking at. I wrote over and out. Some of the data was like vegetation, woods, and a forest. So I was like in a forest. I was in the woods. Oh, and then I wrote backyard. So I was like, well, maybe I'm in somebody's backyard. I knew I was outside though. I was a whole bunch of vegetation, and I wrote Bigfoot. I wrote never ending breakdown. There's some other data here. Let's see. And then I saw it was like it was a hairy something was hairy. Okay, so I wrote down hairy. I wrote fur. And then I wrote down, I was like picking up on places like I heard Yucatan. And I wrote Yucatan Peninsula. Something that was very dense, like dense woods. I wrote sneak attack. I was seeing like a honeycomb. And I was like, it's almost like, it's like Pooh Bear. What's that? Winnie the Pooh? Who like, he gets honey and then he eats so much he falls asleep. Like, that's kind of like what I guess that's kind of where I was going with the data here. What I was picking up on was something was eating a lot and it was tired because it was eating. And drought.
That's fascinating to hear
yeah.
That. We've talked before about how interested I am in how Sasquatch tend to fall asleep in near human habitations, which I find extremely bizarre. The way that they don't want to be seen, but sometimes they're caught snoozing. So that's interesting to hear you say that. Sorry, please keep going.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I was just picking up on something eating leaves or fruit. Okay, like leaves or fruit. And basically, I didn't pick up. I mean, I did get a sneak attack. So whatever happened to this thing, it was surprise. It was a surprise attack. Something did attack it, I think. I think that, I mean, the fact that you said that you think that something got its hand stuck in a trap, I think you're right. Okay, that would 100% make sense here because there was something that was just minding its own business, getting some food, and it was, or getting something, whether it was whatever kind of medicinal plant or whatever it was trying to eat. It was eating something and it ate so much it got tired. And maybe it was just like not in all of its senses and it stuck its hand where it shouldn't have, I guess. And that's probably what happened. But I did write Bigfoot.
You're not saying it, but that's just like what I'm saying. They're out there eating some good buds, got tripped out, zoned out, passed out, too much THC, and even for old Sasquatch. And then they probably might have or accidentally put their hand in the trap when they're stealing it out there. Woke up lethargic. Who knows? Something weird like that. But I mean, everything that my whole hypothesis, you must admit, it's right close to what we're dealing with here. And the fact that you had, you know, vegetarian type of thing on there. I mentioned you said something like that on there too about vegetarian vegetations. Yeah. And you know, that had me wanting to think about all known hominids were vegetarians. It takes us into that realm too. I believe Homo naledi was one of them. So again, food for thought, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely eating stuff off the vine. And I literally wrote off the vine. So it was eating fruits, or
could be berries then,
it could be anything.
Berries.
Yes. I mean, I literally drew leaves and a hand reaching up and grabbing something. It could be eating fruit, it could be eating oranges or apples or whatever that was. But it was, I wrote Bigfoot.
Colombian.
I don't know.
Sorry.
There's no telling. But it was something that was it looked like leaves. So yeah. So I mean, analyzing that little bit of data I've got right there on that target, I do believe it was a Bigfoot. I think that's a Bigfoot hand. I really do. And I don't know if the audience wants to look at it again. It's kind of gross looking. So I mean, here we got pictures of a bear.
Offhand, would you what like type 1, type 2? What type of Sasquatch you think? Patty type or
patty type? That's what I would assume. Okay, that's what I would assume that would be. It'd be like a patty type. One that looked, it was pretty humanoid looking, I guess. I mean, I was picking up on an animal though. I was picking up on an animal. Now, for people who know, you know, I've done a couple of shows on Sasquatch being on maps, okay, and recognized by our military, that topography map, whatever kind of map that is, the U.S. Air Force has. It's they classify Sasquatch as a dangerous animal. So they're not actually classified as humans by any means, but it's an animal. And I was picking up on what I thought was an animal. Okay. Honestly, I think Bigfoots are something completely other. I don't think they're animal or human.
I'm sorry. Right? I haven't been looking over the chat. I just looked over and saw something made me laugh. Somebody said, Acapulco Gold. Where we going back to the 80s.
I said the Yucatan. Cool. There's a lot of hand jokes tonight. I do see those.
Sorry. That's why I try not to look over there, because I get distracted. But anyway, sorry.
There's a lot of hand jokes.
We're making kind of light of it, but something did lose its hand. It's probably most likely another one of the many traumatic events that go on down here. So I mean, so that part is not funny. You know, something horrible happened. It sounds like from your data, it was one of the peaceful ones too, for the most part, and got ambushed or stuck its hand in the trap, either or both.
Yeah, I think it does make sense to me that it could have gotten its hand stuck in a trap, because it said sneak attack. I mean, unless somebody came at it with a machete, you know, and cut its hand off too. You know, I mean, they could have taken the whole thing out for all we know. I mean, if it was a Bigfoot, somebody could have, you know, unalived it and just chopped his hand off and thrown it or something. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I just picked up on a sneak attack. I picked up on a sneak attack and a Bigfoot that was eating. It was minding its own business, and it was, it was just minding its own business, eating.
I imagine whoever dropped in a trash can, and most likely they didn't think it'd probably be discovered, or was it planted there? Either or, it doesn't even matter.
I doubt it was planted there. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Anything is possible these days. You know, like I said, there have been several hands that have been found. Okay, several alleged Bigfoot or suspected Bigfoot hands, and I'll show the audience another picture that I have here too. And please brace yourself, everyone. Okay, this is from a Facebook post or an Instagram post. This was from, hold on, let me take that comment down. If I can get my, sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties over here this evening. Hopefully that'll come off. Okay, there we go.
So much stuff goes in and goes on.
So there's that right there. Now, the person who took that picture was a hunter. Okay. And said that they had seen, I think it was a cougar, was gnawing on this thing. Okay. Now, humans don't have, it looks like a human hand kind of, but humans don't have hairy fingers like that, Barry. Not any that I know. Okay. I'm not going to keep this up there very long.
So any DNA tests done on that or any analysis or?
Doubt it. I don't know. I didn't hear anything else about it. But that picture did go around for a little while. So, it kind of reminds me of stories you hear about, like people's dogs will like come up on their back porch and they'll have like a human leg in their foot or like a femur bone or something off of like a human body, So
it's a Crystal Lake, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're the pet cemetery. Well, actually, that'd be a human cemetery. Yeah. But and of course we've got, and you said that this was debunked, I guess. I don't know. This is the Tibetan finger. Okay. But of course, now we know that we had a lot of giants. Okay. There are giants that roam this earth, not just Bigfoots. So some of these big hands and fingers could be giant.
That's the one
that was debunked.
It's been discredited. It's that one. Yeah. And like I said, I don't want to speak too much on it, but it's been, I've seen there's an analysis that was done on it, scientific analysis on that Yeti skull. Yeah. I was disappointed when I heard it.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Because you want it to be a Yeti or a Bigfoot. I mean, that'd be great, but I mean, just the odds are against us. It seems like, for whatever reason, we're just not. We're not finding the bodies and stuff, and that's okay. That's okay. It keeps me on the hunt out in the woods. Okay, it keeps me out there. I think it's all about the adventure when it comes down to it, ultimately. But if you want my remote viewing data analysis, I would say that we're dealing with a Sasquatch hand, personally. That's what I think. Wild man, Sasquatch, wild woman. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so if the tips of the fingers are missing, do you think maybe those are the things that got caught in the trap? If there was a trap,
probably that, and then it might even severed its own arm to get its own hand to get loose. For all we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it was severed by the trap. But hard to tell. But I think that's probably more accurate than somebody sneaking up on it and hit it with a machete. Even for a Sasquatch, even not much bigger than us, 6 foot or so, very, very dangerous activity there to try to rush one with a machete. That's
you're right. Well, but if it's stuck and it's caught and its hands all in a trap or something.
Brown Dwarf, what's up, man?
Yeah, I want a Yeti helmet. That'd be fun. Okay, actually, it'd be kind of sad. I don't want a Yeti helmet. Okay, but yeah. So yeah,
terrible joke. Oh my god.
Dennis says the government has killed squatches for their DNA research. Yeah, well, we also hear about the potential cryptid breeding programs and stuff too, right? So I mean, they may even have some sort of a breeding program going on.
Yeah, I have heard that. I've heard that. And I heard this thing recently about how you've got these rogue Sasquatch, and we've heard different ways that they become rogue and get ejected from their clan, but it's when they become these rogues, they become really dangerous, like almost a Gugui type when they start to become these rogues. But how the government has specifically found ways to hunt the rogues.
Okay.
So just
well, they're chipped. They're chipped. They have tracking devices on them. Right?
Well, I mean, once they capture them, I guess. But I mean, the ones that are from naturally ejected from the clans, probably the same ones, that are leaving the old witch knots on the horses.
Oh, God. And the handprints on the bathroom stalls.
As they get frustrated because old alpha male kind of doesn't let them get their action, so they wind up going and taking off on the horses, right? Anyway, so we should talk about that. I'm gonna get people get mad at me again. When I first brought that up, we had people telling me they wouldn't do that, Barry. I was like, how the heck do you know? We don't know anything about them, really. I mean, just we got really upset over that one. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of people think that this hand was potentially from a juvenile Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, and I can't disagree with that. Okay, I can't disagree with that. I think that, and I don't even know if I'd say juvenile. I think that a lot of the Bigfoots that we do encounter out in the woods are more like 6, 7 feet tall. I have not come across a gigantic one personally, but not that I know of. And David, who was in the chat, one of my research buddies, he said that they average around like 6 feet around his research area, and he's been in this game for a long time, man. He's been researching longer than just about anybody I know, especially in his areas.
And as far as seeing the big ones too, and it kind of reminds me of when I was younger. Did you ever have that friend that you hung out with all the time, but you never actually seen their parents because they're like these agoraphobics that never came out of the house or something, unless your friend finally got in trouble with you, and then they had to come out and get your friend, so you got to look at them. But I mean, in some ways, some of these bigger Sasquatch and some of these smaller ones, I think that maybe what happens more at that ranch out there in Washington. They have the one they call, was it Delaki, they call it. But to me, it seems like that thing is messing around the human habitation there. And sometimes the older ones have to come get it or come deal with it. You know what I mean? And I think that we see that a lot more than we think when dealing with just basic old family nuclear nuclear family, Anyway, so
Yeah.
that's I think that's good wrap up on that one. Unless anything else you want to say on that one.
No, I'm gonna hit the gavel on the table. I'm gonna say Bigfoot. Okay. For that, I'm gonna say Sasquatch personally. That's what I think that is. Just because of the data. I mean, it's not an elephant. I wrote elephant in the data too. So I'm gonna say once I got into that data, I do believe I wrote down Bigfoot. And so I'm going to stick with Bigfoot because I was seeing something very large, very hairy, somewhere between dark brown and light brown, that was actually reaching out and picking fruit or some kind of vegetation off of limbs. And I wrote fresh off the vine or off the vine. Okay. So that's that. So the hand of unknown origin is now known, in my opinion. I think it was a Bigfoot. Okay, even though I don't have the DNA evidence to back that up, I have the remote viewing data, and that's good enough for me right now for our show's sake tonight.
And the data also lends to the reality of it too, which I think is good. That's important, And it's kind of I think it was just something neat to kind of look into. You know what I mean?
It's amazing. We need more targets like that.
Not as quite as rough as the other two targets.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the second target. Okay, because this is the one where you told me to please protect my energy big time. And this is a pretty serious target right here, y'all. Okay, Barry, tell the audience what the next is. We're going to talk about the voices.
Something I did too on this, because I try not to send you targets that could be dangerous. I think, but this one is potentially one of those. So before even manifesting the numbers, I put a protection on this over you and over the numbers too. And another reason is this, all right, because we'll talk about this on the next target also. Well, we're dealing with this war between light and dark, and you've got these dark forces trying to turn people against the light, all right, which I think is very, very serious. And to think that there's not dark forces that are looking out for remote viewers just like you, because they know we're coming to that now. They know our minds. And some of them are not putting out things that will deceive people, some remote viewers. You even agreed with me when we talked about this privately. So that's something I wanted not to happen to you during viewing the target or put you in jeopardy. And I'll tell you, okay, so I'm just going to kind of say how this comes up, okay? So I mentioned before that for almost 2 decades, I worked with juvenile offenders and children in need of care, okay? So we'd psychiatric too. And I was sitting at, you understand this, I was sitting at Wendy's waiting to get me a chicken sandwich and a Baconator, and they were backed up. So I was just sitting there, and there was a car in front of me, and the dude gets out and runs up to my car. And it turns out it's somebody that was a client that I had around, oh gosh, probably 2000, 2001. And we'll just call him Jay, okay? And he was wanting to thank me and everything for the work way back then. It's always cool because in that industry, the warm fuzzies are few and far between. Okay. Especially when dealing with offenders. But he mentioned, he said, I always wanted to tell you thank you because you helped me with the voices. And he said, you're the only person that didn't say I was crazy and all that. And, and then I kind of forgot about that part with him. And, we did talk about that a little, and I started thinking about, it made me thinking about all the other, so I'm talking about this youth population that I encountered that heard voices. A lot of them would talk about that. Then I know some people in my personal life that heard voices, potentially schizophrenic and stuff like that. Okay. So I have always been consumed that these voices are not some biological chemical imbalance. Could I ask my coworkers when they say that, well, such hears voices, because I got in trouble for talking to some of the kids about it. So one of the therapists, oh, please don't do that because it makes them more delusional. Well, what proof is there of that? And it's a chemical brain imbalance. But when you look at the DSM-5 they're on now, there are no chemical tests that support that. Nothing beyond bipolar 2. None of that is supported. So they're saying that, and that's what these voices are coming from, but that's not proven. And the fact that all thoughts are not our own is truth, because we've got these negative entities trying to push for our, oh gosh, let's say the word. I don't want to say Jolly Rancher. What is it? Loosh. We won't call it negative psychokinetic energy. Let's call it loosh. Oh,
loosh. Well, that's what people like myself know it as. Yeah,
everybody. It's the new age term, it sounds like to me. But that's cool. I could deal with that. We could call it DOR, deadly orgone radiation. We call it negative psychokinetic energy, whatever. Anyway, we could call it a candy, loosh. Jolly Rancher flavor loosh. Anyway, sorry.
It's like a vape.
But seriously,
vape
like just knowing, like, sometimes have you ever just been walking and suddenly you have just these horrible thoughts come into your mind? Like, for example, I was walking along that last conference, we were walking on this pond thing, and suddenly I started thinking about all these people in a line pushing barrels of oil into like the ocean or water. You know how much like 1 gallon of oil or 1 quart contaminates how many gallons of fresh water. I started thinking that, and these people tipping that over, and where the heck did that thought come from? I would certainly never do that, but where did that thought come from? See what I'm saying? All of our thoughts are on our own. We've got these entities that are able to get into our minds. They understand our religions. They understand our psyches. Okay. And, when I used to ask the kids, Jay would have been one. I asked him, he said, you hear these voices. I said, well, what do they sound like? They sound like me. Some of them tell me, did you ever ask? I've asked. They say they're me. So when you get these voices, they're speaking through our own internal dialogue and our own voice, knowing the things that are really scary for us and it's always negative stuff. Okay, always negative. Now, so I did a video. This triggered me enough, and things happen, so I'll shut up soon. When this stuff happens to me, it comes in threes. When spirit communicates with me, things come in threes. So it starts with Jay just running up to me while I'm waiting for some food I shouldn't be eating. And then talking about that. Yeah. There's some chicken in there. I got a chicken sandwich. Anyway, but
nuggies.
And going over. I ran into somebody I know, an old acquaintance, and they hear voices all the time. We got to talk about that. I said, do you still hear them? When I asked Jay, do you still hear them? He said, well, not like I used to. It seems like when I got older, they kind of backed off a little bit, but I took the meds for a while, and then I tried to work through the CBT, cognitive behavioral, which is good, but it doesn't always cure voices. Anyway, so I made this video. You saw it. Thank you for watching it. And I post all my stuff in Patreon, maybe never to go public, but that one did. But there's not very many Patreons I have there, but one or two of them, one would say, you're talking a lot like Jerry Marinsky. And they gave me that name. I know who that was. So I looked them up, and they sent me a link. And it's this gentleman, okay, that worked in psychiatric adult facilities all over the place. I mean, intense schizophrenic work. And he's got this whole thing. He's talking about the voices. And 90% of what he says is what I just have told you. Okay, stuff I heard from these kids, but he's talking to adult schizophrenics and stuff, and he's come to the same conclusion, but even from a more professional perspective in terms of work exposure, way beyond me. So I started just absolutely digesting for like 3-4 days everything this cat's done. Okay, and here's what's really cool. What made me kind of give this to you as a blind target, it brought me to your friend, Chantel.
From
She's done
Aquarius
several.
Rising Africa.
Yes, she's done Rising Africa. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name. I was going to say
Aquarius.
Aquarius Rising, but
It is.
yeah,
It's Aquarius Rising Africa.
oh, sorry. Oh, that's complicated.
Yeah, I'm on her show every other Tuesday. You can find me there every other Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Y'all come see me. This week I had Caleb Jade with me. It was fantastic with Shanti.
That's the only show I've not seen. I've watched the others though, so I was familiar with who she was. I like her style. She's kind of non-commercial. I like that. But she's done several interviews with Marinsky, including over something called Mace that I'm familiar with, or MEM, which I'm familiar with too. But he's way more in depth. But something I've incorporated in some of my practices too. So, but anyway, so just that brought me to your friend there, and she's done a lot of work with it. Really good, I think. And this just came this way. So I said, I'm just going to give it to Jessica. I knew not just would it prove that it's not just chemical imbalances and simply insanity, but it will prove that there are entities behind this. You read things like any of those spiritual scriptures, including the Bible. They talk about demons all the time, and a demon being all around us. And that's exactly what these voices are. That's no different than the being that I told you, the shadow I saw that attached to my coworker. I've talked about that several times. Won't go into that. But and she says to me, well, stinking thinking is just getting to me. See, that's what these things do. But on top of that, they also come as the voices. And something really interesting, I want to throw this in and give a shout out to Dennis. I think he's in the chat. He had said something on the other show you two did. He was saying, he said, I'm familiar with evil and the darkness, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I hate it. See, that stuff sucks, man. He's saying it right there. That the whole dark, negative thing, And so anyway, so when I deal with earthbound spirits, sometimes I'll come up on the demonic that's attached to people, and there's certain things I'll know immediately. And when it comes to demonic, look, I'm not here for that this time. I send them on their way. Okay, get rid of them. I'm not trying to be Max von Sydow, this cat that's all bad, going to war. Because I tell you, you come up against one of those demons that not just one of those little shadows we're talking about, one that's billions of years old, that's obsessed with consuming your luminosity, your awareness. And you do your little protections and stuff, and it's still there going, that ain't done nothing. I'm going to take you. Then what do? You're in for the fight of your life.
And he probably may not make it.
Yeah. And when looking at these voices, there are these patterns, so, okay, the third thing that comes up, sorry, I'm getting way too excited, Jessica. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. I'm going to get in trouble here. But at that last conference that came from barely 2 weeks ago now, this lady approaches me, and we just introduced who we were. And she approaches me before I can even get to the dinner table and was really telling me she hears voices. And, these are really bad. This individual had it, okay? And they had no idea I was even going to be talking about voices in my presentation. And towards the end of the conference, he comes up talking to me, exchanging information and stuff. And I said, so you still hear them now? She goes, oh, they're very loud. She said, but there's one that's really, really loud. And since I've been talking, every time I've been talking to you, it gets really loud. I said, what's it saying? To kill myself.
Yeah.
That, and that's, traditionally. So it's things like that. So anyway, just, it isn't just earthbounds that can put thoughts in people's minds. It's also these demonics that are doing that. So I want to just kind of combine that with the work that I'm doing, because it all goes together, and people to be aware of that all thoughts you have are not your own, and that we can be infiltrated like that. And it's real serious. So when people are hearing voices, doesn't just mean that they're crazy, bipolar. they give them these drugs that they don't know. But sometimes the drugs, like the individual I was talking to, would be good just to calm the voices enough to where you can do some of that work that actually goes into releasing some of the trauma, which is normally done in a unevasive mode, if you know how to do it. Anyway, sorry. So let's go on to the data, whatever you want to talk about it. But that, in a nutshell, why I brought it up. And I wanted to also mention Jerry Mrzinski and your friend that does the complicated Aquarius African rising. Right?
Shanti, out of Aquarius Rising Africa.
And it's that type of a convulsion that makes me give you the target and kind of brought it to that anyway. So, and it has to do with the light too, to a degree. So
it does. Okay, so this is some interesting data. Okay, considering what the target is, I'm going to go through some of the sensory data, then we'll go through some of the analytic overlay. So I was immediately, like, as I'm going through the first 2 or 3 stages of this session that I did, I was picking up on, I wrote, okay, so this is my sensory data. I wrote rigid, hard, close, surprise, menial, blasted, chill, cruel, and slide. All right. So I wrote chill out. I actually wrote Antarctica down. So I was feeling, because I was somewhere that was very cold. I was feeling super cold, and I actually wrote Antarctica on this. I wrote down overlord, atmosphere, gas, and gases. I wrote cruel and unusual punishment. I wrote, I was picking up on like 2 double, I wrote parallel world, parallel universe. I wrote both of those. I heard slide in. I was picking up on something that was, I wrote tempered and temperature. I heard don't stop believing. I heard don't stop, and then I wrote down believing. Don't stop believing. And then I wrote down, like, I was picking up on a person who was highly decorated. And by highly decorated, I mean like military. Okay, so I started picking up on, sometimes when I pick up on this, I write top brass is what I'm known to write whenever there's some sort of like military involved. And so I wrote highly decorated. And then I wrote, like, my stationary drawing was really interesting because it kind of looked like the continent of Antarctica, like a map of Antarctica. Now, that was my first 3 stages. What do you think about that, Barry?
You know, when I was looking at it initially, when I looked at the data initially, what kept sticking out to me is how you had Antarctica on there a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and that was just disconcerting. Because somewhere or another, you've got not just inorganic beings and demonic that can be doing these voices. You've also got that technology they call the voice to skull technology, or voice of God technology. And what they're doing, they're using something called the audio spotlight and microwave type sound weapons to actually make people hear voices. So that's one thing. So what you have is, once again, these dark factions going from what the inorganic are doing to making it technological and putting that on targeted individuals. So that just compounds, excuse my language, the damn problem. You know what I mean? You've got people, humans, doing that, helping dark forces. Anyway, so just want to throw that out too, that there is a technology that can cause it too. And in case that's not good enough, you got just a bunch of demon all around you, constantly trying to get in your head. That is the truth down here, okay? And I'm not trying to sound like the negative guy, doesn't people get mad, but it's true down here. You know, for these reasons, Jessica, when we go to the next, I don't want to go into the next one too much, but it's for these reasons that I, for a long time, was convinced that this is strictly a prison planet of lost souls that are trapped in the reincarnation cycle. And, you know, I maintained that for years, and based on some of my childhood experiences too. Not that they were bad, but some of the stuff I was told from these beings during these encounters. Okay. And something like that scalar net and things, that net that you saw when I had you remote view the bases on the door planets in this solar system, you know? Anyway, so that's just sorry. You were saying something. Probably I got carried away and
Yeah.
did shut up.
Well, no, it's beautiful. I love it. Like we're just go with the flow, and this is really good information. It's very important because we are dealing with such a terrible dark side in this world right now, and it's like the demons are showing themselves. Okay, a lot of very demonic stuff is kind of out in our faces right now, but that's actually kind of the good thing, right? Like now we can see it. A lot of us can
You know,
see the
as the way
darkness.
you were hitting on Antarctica, that makes me wonder: do we really want to know everything that's there? Really? I mean, it seems like to me it was the focal point for these voices and these demonic forces from this
There's
planet.
something
They're
there.
obviously that part of it is coming out of Antarctica. I mean, when you saw
Right,
that, like
the
I
gateway to
mentioned before,
hell.
sometimes I get a little more than I can chew when I give you these targets. That's one of those deals. I expect you to say, oh, another dimension, another, you know, it brings something up to my mind. Okay, now I'm not a religious brother, but I'm familiar with some stuff. Okay, and when looking at, I believe it's definitely it's the Christian Bible. They have a story about Yehoshua uh, exorcising these demons from people. And when he did this, he exorcised them and they started begging him, oh, don't send us back to home. Don't send us back to hell. Do something else with us. Don't send us back there. Please show mercy. And he like cast them into these pigs. Do you remember that story? He put
Oh
them
yeah,
into like
cast.
these pigs.
Yep.
So whatever it is, whatever goes on in the dark place there, and it's like some of these earthbound spirits I've worked with that tell me that they're hurting the people they're attached to, and they tell me they're hurting everybody they can, and especially that person, because if they don't, the others told them that they would send them to the pit. I mean, what's the pit? I mentioned this last time we were on one of these shows, and they tell me, well, the earthbound will say, I don't know, but they say it's darker than where this is, and it's worse. And that again is them knowing our own religion and getting into knowing about our religions to focus that on us too. And I've had that before. I'll show up at one of these earthbounds will tell me, I was told about you. I heard about you. What'd you hear about me? That you're bad and you're gonna try to make you're gonna get rid of me. I said, well, who told you that? The others that were here that left before you got here, but they said they'll be back after you're gone.
Ooh. Oh gosh, that's tricky. Oh my gosh,
I think
that's
it sucks.
terrible. Yeah.
And just something that you said in there, these forces are nonstop. They're nonstop. They're harassing these people their entire life, trying to generate this loose their entire life with these multiple ways. We've talked about how they use trauma that we have both from different lives, past lives, inherent inherent generational curses. Okay, we've got that, and the trauma we get here.
Mm-hmm.
Traumas that we get here form something. We look at the system, it's called negative identities. That when you get an unwanted trauma, the first decision you make and the trauma you have, your consciousness comes out, takes it, puts it in your subconscious. But then it starts running like a background program. Anytime you interact with a situation or a person that represents this trauma, you're reacting instead of responding. The mind reacts. The negative identity reacts. The spirit responds. It's different. So anyway, sorry. But this is just important
Wow.
stuff because we have to know how negative identities feed these negative inorganic beings. So they can do that through not just our thought processes, but through our trauma and through these negative identities. It's very important to know that.
Yeah. Well, and if you also factor in the like CERN, let's just say, I know you're not a big fan of talking about CERN and these hadron colliders and the things that could be. I know I had to bring it up though, because we don't know what exactly is going on in Antarctica. We don't know what they have there. I mean, we have these hadron colliders all over the world, and they're opening up, ripping through time and space. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what's coming in and out of them, but it doesn't seem good.
And something else I've mentioned before, everybody's obsessed with the God particle. when we need to be hearing about the other types of exotic particles they're finding in CERN and those other places. These things they're doing, these experiments, they only exist a millisecond, but these exotic particles that may be way beyond the hogs bison. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, so back to
Well,
this the voice
should we go
thing.
back to the data?
We discussed what it is. I think I cut you off and got too excited and carried away before you could even finish the data. And I know I'll pay for that in the comments.
No, it's good. No, I asked you your opinion, and so now we'll get back to the data. I just have a little bit more data because on the stage 4 of my session, I was picking up on I was hearing echoes, so I wrote down echo, and then I was picking up on waves and sound waves, wavy sound waves, echolocation, sonar. I wrote down frequency and sound waves, so it was a whole lot of like sound waves and sonar and frequencies and stuff. And Antarctica is included in this. So, I mean, I don't, even in Alaska, we talk about pretty often about why the animals and everything are in the wildlife is so much more violent against humans. And my hypothesis is they've got all the like HARP and all these weather manipulation weapons and stuff up there. And when they turn on those frequencies and talk about the 5Gs and stuff, these towers that we have, they're turning on this like microwave radiation and stuff and putting out frequencies and just blasting us with things out in the ocean too. I mean, I had a friend who sent me a post on social media about how they have these like boat size, it's like ship size sonar things, and it's like putting out, it's changing our weather and causing hurricanes and stuff in the oceans. I mean, we're getting blasted with it. The whole world is getting blasted with it. So I was picking up on stuff kind of like that. Okay. So echolocation, sonar, frequency, sound waves. I was hearing beeps. I wrote down the word purge. Okay. I wrote down purge. But I was in a cold environment. Whatever this target was, I was definitely in a cold environment. And I kept getting cold. This entire target, it was very cold. I was also feeling dizzy, tired, and nauseated. So whatever this was making me nauseated. But I wrote rocks and moon rocks. I even wrote down the word skinwalker on this one, okay? Because I don't know. But I was writing down like data that had to do with like, I wrote moonwalker. I don't even know what that is. Okay. But I heard shut it down. Like I was kind of my.
I think that's that device on the dark side of the moon, not just the like the shard that Richard Hoagland talks about, the shard and the palace and those devices back there. I told you before, I read as Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh and them were saying that we go back to the moon, we incarnate through the moon, we come through that far side, and then also we go back there when we dream, and we come through this soul catcher, they called it, on the dark side of the moon. And I've told you before how that actually is connected. When I was having my experiences, it's the one I had in the acid rain experience. This being had told me about these bases that were jumping off places for this solar system that I gave you as a blind target. And they were telling me that he's telling me that they have problems with not just the density of this solar system, but this net frequency thing that starts off at Saturn, and why Saturn kind of looks like an antenna in ways, and it projects it over to Mars, which I think you're dealing with the Cydonia complex, then over to Earth or to the moon, the dark side, then to the sacred sites of Earth, some of them. And when we come through there, we incarnate here, we already been lost half of our soul life memories in that God repository, okay? That eagle thing I talked about, if you want to connect it with Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan and those Toltecs called it the Great Eagle. And when you go into the beak of the eagle during the death process, the beak of the eagle takes your soul life memories, wipes it clean, okay? And that's why they did something called the recapitulation, which is remembering every event you've had in your life and bringing that energy back to you from every person and every situation and reliving every moment of your life. Then when this mind of God, aka the eagle, this repository, takes actually that recap and leaves your soul, your life, soul life memories intact, and then you incarnate next time with them without being devoid. So that's one technique. So this again, I'm offering some techniques, and these people that tell you don't go into the light can't tell you this stuff. They don't give you the stuff that you're supposed to know, and the stuff that they say is, and they have no baseline of data to support anything they're saying. It's something somebody else told them, and it's somebody else that they know believes that person too, so they're with me. This is a war between dark and light. It's very real, and I've had earthbound spirits tell me straight up, Jessica, I'll ask, why'd you not go into light? Why'd you not cross over? I've heard it before. I was scared. I didn't know what the light was. Or I heard it was a trick. Or I've hurt a lot of people during my life. I killed someone, and I think I'm going to go in that light and burn.
Yeah.
Once again, concepts we have in our mind. And you've got these others out there telling the earthbound who's already lost in darkness, hey, you don't have no light anymore. You better go try to get some light off that person. And so they'll go join with the person and hurt them. And if you don't, we'll be waiting for you. So when I cross over an earthbound and I get them to thinking about, like, let's say the love of God, then they could suddenly see the light and see their loved ones there that are not just holographic projections. I don't believe that. Neither the guides. You've got energy generating beings. When you do a real dream, when you really cross the dream gates, you realize that you're in the middle of an electron impulse and phantasmagorical images. You wipe that clean, then how many energy generating beings are in your field of awareness? That's reality, okay? And they hide in these phantasmagorical images when we're dreaming. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting way too hyped, man. And I'm tied this into the other target when I shouldn't be, but they're connected. And
well,
I
let's
hear
go
people
on to the second one or the third one. Let's talk about it.
Take over. Do the Captain Janeway thing. So you don't want to start.
Yeah. No, I think it's a perfect segue because that's all the only data that I was really going to discuss because we pretty much covered everything, the important stuff for that target right there. So I just find it interesting that there's an Antarctica connection or something cold, and I was picking up on it seemed to be man-made. Okay, dare I say?
Is that Black Pyramid? One of those Black Pyramids?
Black Pyramid. I think the Black Pyramid is the one that we looked into was in Alaska.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah, but they have pyramids and they have pyramids down in Antarctica too. So, and actually you gave me the target of the octagon structures in Antarctica. Okay. Those were what, millions of years old, according to the data, and or some sort of a portal or something. They were ancient alien technology.
That's one of those targets I hoped you could come back and say, Barry, this isn't real, whatever it is. Damn, that was one of those targets.
I got a lot of
so
data.
much for that wishing.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, so
let's go to the third one.
To the light. Yeah, this is the one that's okay. This is gonna rub some people the wrong way, Jones. Get ready. So you can blame all this on me. I pulled you into this. Okay, so that's true. They also flee from humor. Try loving humor. Shoot loving humor at them. They're out of there, man. They don't like our sense of humor anyway, but especially the loving jokes, corny loving jokes. They take off quick.
Well, we got jokes. Okay. Well, let's get into what the light war is, or is it multiple wars? Tell me exactly what we're looking at here, or what I was looking at.
Your target was the light.
It was just the light.
People go into when you pass.
Gotcha.
What is it? A trick? Is it a soul trap? Is it all fake, or is it something else? Is it consciousness? Is it the creator? And, I'll just say this, with the data that you got, the first thing you should have got is it's a soul trap and it's a negative and all this negative stuff. And you really should have got that because, okay. All right. I'm going for it, man. Look, the reason, I have a problem with these fools that talk about not going into the light that make more work for me. And I wanted to know where that came from. Where did that really originate at? Okay. And now I've come to find out, I believe it's the Farsight Institute because something bad happened to Courtney Brown.
No.
And then you got the sexy chicks in the cat suit that are saying they seen the soul trap too. What do we know about Courtney Brown, really, or those remote viewers? I'm sorry, I'm being real. I've met one of them. Okay, I don't owe nobody nothing. Okay, and the fact is this: if you think that they can't be influenced, and we start dealing with this false light and soul traps, I've done videos over this. That's something that's happening here to the human brain. That they're using these technologies to intervene on people that are in the twilight of near-death experience. And in that type of a theta state, that's what they're doing. It's another way, just like they're trying to control how people incarnate here. So that's what's going on. So to think that the Farsight Institute can't be influenced is ludicrous. Okay, and I'm sorry, I've crossed over 500 earthbounds now that are inside people's energy field, not just outside where I can detect them and get some sort of survival evidence. Sometimes those are earthbounds, but a lot of times those are people that have gone, spirits that have gone into the light and they come back and help. I can't tell you everything that happens in the light, but I know there's a change, and a lot of times these individuals will come back and help and then leave. They're not trapped here anymore like these earthbounds are. I can tell you that happens for sure. All right. And so anyway, so I'm sorry. So I'm just breaking the deal on that. I died. When I died, I did not experience this soul trap stuff. When I've dealt with these past life regressions, I've not dealt with the soul trap yet. And I'm looking for it. I'm asking, and before the person tells me, when I've mentioned before, they go back to this place in a past life regression, especially life between lives, they go to a place I call the place of translation and reconfiguration. And it's where the guide just comes without me having to say, hey, Jessica, are you seeing your guide yet? They just come, and then they take the client to somewhere that is this place, and it could be a bridge. It could be an office, a library. Sometimes it's a park, or like the last one I did, it was a pond. The guy comes and takes the client to this beautiful pond with this beautiful, all decked out bench, and they're sitting on it. Look at this beautiful water, and there's kind of light in the water, but there's these pictures coming up and going left or right. And these pictures are the interaction that the client had with every person they had, the choices they made, and the intent behind the choices. And people ask me what I experienced when I died. As I can tell you that our impacts on each other, the relationships, is what goes with us to the other side, 1,000 times more powerful than you think. So, so this is going on, and they get done with that. Then I ask Jessica, well, hey, when they say they're going to reincarnate, is the light making you go over there and incarnate there? No. And look on their face, they look at me like I'm saying stupid stuff. I say, well, how about the guide? Is the guide making you go over there? Are they forcing you? No, it's my choice. They all say that. It's my choice. And some of them don't choose to incarnate back here on Earth. They go somewhere else. Okay. And even to the point to where I just brought up the lady, the individuals who's sitting at the pond, they said, and so I'm not really sure where I want to go and incarnate yet. So I'm asking the guide, can I just stay here? And they said, yeah, you can stay here as long as you want. It might get boring after a while. So, that's the way this kind of goes down. And yet I'm not saying that these negative things don't happen, but it's not our nature. It's not our divine overself. They're not able to just enslave that with some machine here on Earth, and neither are the dark forces. They cannot dominate our divine overself, our superconscious, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is pretty deep. Okay, this is a pretty fascinating target, by the way, the light. I mean, at some point, my team, we were all tasked with like the fabric of the universe or something as a target. And we all kind of met there, and it's really odd the way that we can remote view this kind of stuff. Right. And this is, with this target, I don't want to go over all the data because I don't think a lot of it actually is even important. Okay. But some of it is. Okay. Because some of this data that I got for this target included infinity. And I kept coming up with infinite and infinity. That was a big part of this target. Okay. Tell me the significance of that.
I was delighted to see that.
Good. Yeah, and I got to tell you, I got to admit, there's a lot of people in the chat tonight, and myself included. I mean, I've always been told, I've always inherently known, like I need to go into the light, whenever I die. But I feel like I've died probably a million times. Okay, and I will know what to do when the time comes, right? But it's very confusing, and it keeps people up at night wondering because there's such a divide on whether we go to the light or we don't. Okay,
yes.
So what was the significance of all the infinite and infinity data that I got?
Well, it's, for example, like the client I had, one that maybe mentioned this on your show before. When they go to this place of translation and reconfiguration, it's a huge ship. And this ship is outside the space-time continuum looking at all these different universes. And I know, having seen from one of my experiences, I know that some of the universes look like broken shards of glass. They're describing that for some of them. And then other types, And like I say, and they're saying, well, I've existed in some of these universes. I was like, well, what's the one universe like? Which one? The one, the top left, And they start saying, well, that one's different. It's like fluidic space, and how I existed there, where we're the size of like almost planets. We're like the size of several planets. We're similar to amoeba, almost microcellular organisms, but we're all aware on the collective conscious level. And then they start saying, that's a peaceful existence. But it's boring. I'm not going back there. I'm going back over here. I'm going back this universe. I'm going back to Earth to 19 such and such. And that's what they start saying. And then they start talking about seeing their parents in the place of configuration. Okay. Then they like the other clients will talk about these souls that are on the side. I've gotten different numbers: 21, 15, 10, 4, 3, whatever. But they all say the same thing. Well, these are souls that I have agreements with, and we help each other lifetime after lifetime. And I never get, is this a forced agreement? Is it a contract? No. One client told me soul contract. I said, is it a contract? They start, well, that's really not a good word for it because it's not forced. We don't sign anything. I said, well, is it like an agreement? Yes, it's agreement. And I told you before in the other shows, sadly, these are the people, and I can take them back in different lives, including this one, and they can identify several of these souls in their life right now. And sometimes it's these people that have screwed you over again and again, lifetime after lifetime.
Oh, God.
So you got to think about it. We're sitting over there on the other side all blissed out.
I got some of those.
And I tell you, hey, Jones, I need you to really stick it to me about 4, 5, 6 lifetimes, okay? So I really get it. And you're kind of sitting over there blissed out. Hey, B, I got you. No problem.
I got you. I can be the villain. So good. I have several villains that have definitely followed me into this life for sure. And I do card readings and stuff. I do these like intuitive readings and like spiritual consultations with people and stuff. I like to tell people sometimes because, people come, everybody's looking for answers. Okay, everybody's looking for answers as to why people are the way they are, why they're being treated like crap. Listen, if anybody's been treated like crap this lifetime, I've been treated like crap by several people. Okay, and but the way I look at it, it's all about like the healing, the spiritual journey, and doing the healing work, and coming to terms with things, and kind of understanding that we are all here to learn lessons. Okay, so like the things that you and I talk about, we put it into use in our everyday lives. Okay. Because when you look at people, a lot of, of course we say hurt people and all that kind of stuff. But when you get real deep into it, okay, you get real deep into like figuring out why people are the way they are. Well, we signed up to be that way. Okay. That's what I believe. It's in our contract. Okay. And it's for soul growth and stuff. Okay. So I know it sucks and it sounds terrible, and but ultimately there's an undying love between all of us. Okay, like I like to think that once we go to source, back to into the light, okay, that we are all love. We're inherently all love. You're playing roles like actors.
It's interesting. I spoke about negative identities, and that is something that are feelings that come from trauma and from unwanted experiences. And that is, something that we all carry with us are those. It's amazing because when you actually overall find a technique that actually gets to the hidden identity, to the negative identity that's often hidden, you'll find that actually there's a way to take all the negative identity and start converting it into positive. It's our higher self that does it. If you can tag and actually tap into the wire, it does it automatically, Jessica. So it says something. Where our soul, our spirit, our overself is generally good and positive. That's the way it is. Obviously there's a demonic force faction. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but for most of us, we have the ability to do that. And we are actually on that kind of a level, but we deal with so much trauma and negative identities of various type here. We've got those 4 levels. We've got mind, we've got body, we've got spirit, and then we've got these identities, both negative and positive ones, and learning things like the brain actually takes pictures of things, and actually feeds it to the spirit. It's our spirit that actually retains the information, that makes the decisions. And we don't get credit for that, but that's what it really is. It's not just simply the brain, as Neil Tyson deGrasse says. I disagree.
I know. I would assume you disagree with several things that he says, probably.
It's a shame. It's a shame because as far as astrophysically, he's quite intelligent astronomy wise, but he's totally devoid of spirituality. Bad. But hey, that's his deal, not mine. So
it is. I like Trey's comment here, and thanks, Trey. You working on yourself helps your villain as well. It does.
Yeah. And you
kill him with
convert,
love and kindness.
You can convert that, because once you do that conversion, like somebody you had a negative experience with, that you meet somebody else that reminds you of them, similarities, you automatically go into that, as he just called the villain or the negative identity, which is you react to them. And the reaction when coming from trauma is always negative. Just like those voices, the voices and feed on that stuff, negative identities, they start feeding on that. And we've all got them, And once you can free yourself of the negative identities, you start really experiencing the real self. What are you really? What is that God part of you, that positive part? And I've heard, and I'll say something else, some of these people that have told me, oh, I've done my shadow work. I don't have any earthbounds attached to me. I take them under, they have 5, 6, 7 on them. Every single one of them that has boasted that to me. Just like one of those remote viewers did. They boasted that to me, and I could literally see dead people attached to them, not even ones on the inner field. But when I asked them, maybe you ever thought about doing some work on that? Oh, there's no way that's impossible because I've done my shadow work. Okay. I've heard that a bunch of times. I guess those people all got dead people attached to them. We all do. It's a fact of it. And when people get done, we get done with the session, they'll look at me and they'll say, well, that was real. I can hear their voice. Yeah. They've been right there all the time. Yeah. It's kind of the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's the voice of the dead people you can hear too. So it's, that's real serious stuff. And it needs to be acknowledged and dealt with our society much more than it is now. And I know this is going to piss some people off because I've thrown out some people that I'm sorry. I just hear them giving out bad advice, and listening to them is going to get you caught here. And it's all fun saying right now, but what happens when you go through the transition? I'm sorry, Farsight Institute ain't going to be there. Most likely, Barry Littleton's not going to be there unless you catch me through a client. You know what I mean? But otherwise, Farsight's not going to be there for you. Courtney and the catsuit people aren't going to be there.
Oh, hey, no shade. Oh my gosh, no shade. Barry, listen, those are my fellow remote viewers here.
I'm just throwing out where this stuff is coming from. I don't care. They can't do nothing to me. All right. It's not going to stop the work I'm doing.
Okay.
And check it out. I don't do QHHT. I don't do NLP. I don't do any of these things. I've got my own system I use. Okay. And it took me a lifetime to get it together. So I don't owe nobody nothing. And those people that are hurting people, giving out bad advice, that have these huge platforms, that crap's got to stop. Like somebody's here, oh, go to light, go to angels. They're talking about angels and light, giving a workshop on it. And this person is demonic as they come. They would stab you in the back just like that. And they wouldn't care. Okay, but people are, oh, thank you. Like they're giving this enlightened knowledge, and they're not. So people can hate me if they want. I don't care. Most of what I talk about gets actually sequestered anyway. I know you've seen it, Jessica, because I'm not talking about that it's cookie cutter. Not everything I've dealt with it's not SSP, it's not clones, it's not reptiles. That's the stuff that sells. That's what really is in the media right now. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen. Not putting that down, putting those people down. But I am saying that is completely denying the other part of contact, the other part of this. And the whole thing that I keep going on about this is because it's the consciousness that really is behind all this. Not just the light, but behind the voices, behind the cryptids, all this stuff. And you've got these materialists that have just completely gatekeepers of this community that don't want that coming out. They want to stick to that surface stuff. They don't want to talk about the real consciousness that comes out of this, the awareness factor. I mentioned on your show before that some of these beings they're calling extraterrestrials aren't from extra space. They're not even from Earth. They're coming from pure consciousness, from these Akashic records, from these black holes. That needs to be dealt with, and we've got to expand our modality of not just contact, but on what we are all together. Because when you get somebody there and go through these past lives and other things, you find that we're not, shut up after this. Somebody like me, I learned hypnosis because I can't do it to myself. You know why? Because I can't relax. I'm Mr. Paranoid, man. Been like that always. Yeah. With the experiment, with the contact scenario, come a great deal of paranoia with the brothers. With telepathy and being able to read the stuff on the surface of people, along with micro expressions, makes me very wary of people. I sit there and talk to them, and what they're actually thinking and their micro expressions are completely off of what they're telling you. They don't even match. They're liars. And we met so many people in these communities that are liars. They cannot do what they say. They don't have the abilities that they say. Individuals well known in this community told me, oh, I died and then the light came. I went around the light. I wasn't going for that trick. And I was sailing and I was going through the universes and they were going past me. And I'm sitting in front of this person and feeling their energy is weak. They may be famous, but their energy is weak. They don't have any personal power. That's what this is about, personal power, storing energy. They don't have it. They're not projecting that to me at all, but I'm supposed to believe that you have a total mastery of your left side awareness, right awareness. You're totally awake in your dreams. You're controlling your dreams 100%. Come on, that's crap. Well, they're just scamming women all the time, trying to get laid. That's it. So, but I'm supposed to believe the other side of that. I'm just being honest, man. Okay.
All right.
And I'm sorry if people
it's
hear
not
me.
a bashing show, though. Okay,
I'm not
keep
calling
it classy.
anybody's name exactly. I'm only calling out an organization. It's not on you. It's on me. And you got drawn into this. I apologize only because I knew I wasn't going to be doing any more videos. I wanted to nip this in the bud before it was over, before I got done with my videos. That's why I showed you the Light Wars video today. I've not released yet. And that's why I kind of had you remote view it, because it tells the truth. If what that was seen, this soul traps and that's all there is, you would have seen it, and you didn't. You didn't know what you're looking at, and that only supports what I. It only supports what I've been saying about the light, what I've learned. And what I've especially learned with dealing with this, I had to change my own idea on Prison Planet stuff. I'm no guru. I'm just a cat, man, just a brother. I'm a paranoid brother. But I had to change some of my beliefs on this is totally Prison Planet. It's not. But we have so much demonic factions that are running this place. And I'll stand against that, Jessica. I'll stand against it till I die. And that's why I'm not going to, because I've got some people who've got upset with me. I've got some smirk comments where you work with Jessica now. You don't work with anybody else anymore. Well, I got burned, and I don't like that. I don't take it easy, okay? I don't know what I appear like on TV here or whatever, but I'm not a pushover guy. I don't like that stuff. I don't like people that try to take advantage of the weak. It's real easy to do that. That takes no character at all. So I'll always stand against it. I'll stand against this war between dark and light. If you're going against the light, you're with the dark. There's no way around it. There is no medium gray. What is it? What's that saying, Jessica? At night, all cats are gray. No, they're not.
Yeah, I've never used that phrase before. I don't know that one.
Sorry, I'm sorry. So yeah. Look, folks, in the audience, that's why I'm comfortable talking to here. You've got a great audience. They don't really throw sticks for the most part. So they heard me go on the tirade a little bit. I've said it to other people. I apologize who I might have offended, but I'm being honest and I'm coming from experience. And if I was wrong, I would tell you, hey, I experienced it. The soul traps, all this stuff. But that's technology. Another video I'm going to I haven't put out yet. This last round I did. It's called Targeted Dream Incubation, and how they're actually interfering, not just engineering dreams, but turning people's dreams into memories and the memories into reality. That is a very dangerous technology.
Yeah, very, very dangerous. I mean, it's interesting how these two targets you gave me are very similar. They're connected too. I find that pretty fascinating. So I don't know. It's really scary to think of all the weapons being used against us right now. And what's the purpose though? Like what's the ultimate goal? Just to stop humanity from advancing, from the consciousness from advancing?
I think to keep humanity enslaved for food as a type of experiment all the way until we get basically booted as being wardens, custodians of the planet, and others can take over. That's what I think it is. Some that maybe already said it's been theirs all along, or whatever the case might be. But right now, we know, looking at this world, that this place is right now. I mean, look at all the wars. That's all negative identity stuff. It rules down here. And it's this stuff that gives, this energy for these darks. And I'll tell you, dealing with something like the prison system, my dear God.
Yeah.
We got a friend, Scott Savoy. You remember Scott? Yeah. Kind of big brother, real cool brother.
Yes,
he talks a lot about he's almost an expert about the prison system as far as public ones and private ones. We were talking at one of those conferences, and we were talking about, man, just the amount of, that is a feeding ground for these negative inorganic beings. Oh my Lord. I mean, that's like ground, that's like ground zero for negatives and for loose and all that stuff in the prison system.
Oh, prisons. Yeah. I thought you said conferences. I was like, really?
No, I was talking to Scott at one of the conferences.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Taking Grafton, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just depressing, and that's a perfect place for Loosh, I guess. I mean, there's just a whole lot of violence there, and a lot of dark entities attachments on those people that are in those prison systems. A lot.
You've got everything there: murder, weird sexuality, torture. You've got the whole thing there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how some of those prisons, if you've toured one, they're so aesthetically clean. You don't expect a prison to be clean like that, but energetically, it's just horrible. You know what I mean? It's terrible. So it's,
it's really sad.
It's So I don't want this to be a totally negative show or anything, but this stuff had to come to light. And the reason why I had you do that target is because I just wanted to see. And in the case, I pretty much knew I wasn't going to be wrong. That's almost not because I'm perfect, but just the data and the work has shown it. But I wanted just things for people to see that you can't go all the way with what me and Jessica are saying. You can't go all the way with what they are saying. You know what I mean? So it's just, you got to learn this for yourself and expand your own consciousness. Know that love is very real, and that the negative identity thing is real. The negative entities, earthbounds, are real, and the light is real. Okay. And something I want to say for this is over. It's gone way too hard, too deep, way worse. I said this was going to happen, and it did. But when crossing spirits over, the light they see isn't always this white light or this golden white light. Sometimes, a lot of times it is, but it's not always that. Sometimes they're these different colors, green or blue. And I think that has a lot to do with our soul group. And our soul groups are aligned similar to our color nanospectrum. Roy G. Biv. Your red and oranges are your more, I don't know if we should call them younger or maybe less experienced souls, all the way to your indigo violet or your most. And you've got those that go all the way through and can come back and choose the spectrum, the soul group they want to hang out with and be with much. I couldn't understand why when I first was having all these experiences, this blue stuff, blue beings, blue flashes of light, blue on board these ships. I'm part of the blue soul group, at least now anyway. So, and a lot of people that resonate with me, like you, are blue soul group. Or otherwise, just still. So that's just something to think of. Just not all light's the same color. It's a consciousness thing. I know everybody's not going to agree with me, and the people, as far as the people tell me not to go in the light, that's cool. Let's see a body of work about what they're doing when they don't go into it. How many people have they put through that actually can support what they're saying? That goes against all the other stuff we've been told. Like if somebody got mad because somebody went off. I made this. Okay, Jessica, you probably saw it. I put up that post a few weeks ago, and it was what happens if you go to the heavenly realms. You're crossing over, you go to the heavenly realms, and in the heavenly realms, the higher vibrational realms, you see some individuals there that were just miserable, stinking people. And they were horrible people, and they don't deserve to be there, in your opinion. So does that mean that the light is a trick? Or does that mean that we really don't understand redemption and consciousness fully?
I mean, that goes back to what I said earlier, Barry. Remember, I said that, when I'm talking about how, we're love. Okay. There's like unconditional love. And just because we're not getting along and we play roles here on this earth and we're learning. I mean, that's kind of that's what I believe. Okay. And so when we leave this world, I'd like to think that we just all go back to pure consciousness and love. Okay. Like that's what I'd like to think. But, I mean, that's my belief. Okay. And so if I were to see someone or recognize that soul of someone who had wronged me, like, let's just say like someone I might've been married to at some point who just is a horrible person to me. Okay. Horrible, like the worst of the worst. Okay. And, I would expect to see their soul there, even though they were really horrible to me, I would like, but see, that's me. That's the way I think. Okay. I don't ever want to see that person here on this earth again if I don't have to. But we're talking about something different. We're talking about a core. Okay. Us at our core, our soul level. Okay. This is our human level. We're in meat suits. Okay. We're in meat suits playing roles and fighting each other and being in ego and jealous and wild, and wild and free. Okay. Wild and free. And, being mean to each other, starting wars and unaliving people and stuff, things like that. But that's I'd like to think we all ascend, go back to source.
And we know some other things. See, it's in the incarnations we get to deal with this evil so much, especially. I mean, like for example, Trappist-1. I was watching a sci-fi show called The Ark yesterday on sci-fi, and they're typing in set coordinates for Trappist-1D. I was like, really? That made it
Isn't that
to
what I
that
remote viewed?
Yeah. I was like, whoa, isn't that kind of a trip? But
We
anyway,
remote
so
viewed a long time ago too. That was over a year ago, 2 years ago almost.
And the whole slavery thing you got out. The thing that
Oh,
William
yeah.
Tompkins said on Earth Files, that the Milky Way has a problem with these lower civilizations. They're of course hundreds of years more advanced than us, but they're into slavery, and it's going against the divine field. It's things like that. So we know that's a problem in the Milky Way. That takes us into what Tony talks about. Like I said, the first time I met Tony, we really got along well. He's a cool cat, but we were talking, just him and I, at the airport before we flew out, and I didn't know his story fully. Only bits and parts. We're sitting there, and that cat wasn't telling me at all. Hey, I was SSP super soldier. He kept saying I was a slave. He kept using that term. He started dropping tears on me, and it wasn't just an act. I can read people pretty good, But that goes into that whole thing there. It even ties us into our friend Jock Doubleday. And, I think what he talks about, the terraforming of Earth, fascinating. And what we deal with potential architectural spheres, I think that is not to be discounted at all, especially when you're dealing with some beings that can do it consciously, actually make planets consciously and evolve them. That's pretty serious, And concerning that, what you said about sorry, I didn't mean to just go over that, about us going back to love and being of love, there's so many different terms for the quote unquote super consciousness, our divine over self. There are all these different terms I've heard. One of them in that Erranta book calls it the thought adjuster. And that's what they constantly call the divine over self, is the thought adjuster. And the thought adjuster is the part of us that is still in perfection with the creator, has never left the creator. Wow. So the thought adjuster is constantly adjusting our thoughts. But we start looking at things like what we just talked about, negative identities, and those are actually feelings that come from thoughts too. It's very relevant. You know what I mean? Perhaps that term too. And in that way, that means the part of us is loving. And, I've had some sessions where you might have, like I said, the mind takes pictures. And when it communicates with us, it does it in pictures. Like right now, I say, apple. Immediately you see what? What's your first thought?
When I see an apple?
When I say apple.
When I say apple, I mean Garden of Eden, maybe.
I mean, your first thought isn't something like a red apple or a green apple?
I mean, I thought you were getting more deep than that, Barry. Sorry.
No, just apple, the word apple.
Just apple. I mean, I think of an...
Or
we eat apples here every day. Okay. So we eat apples every day. Every morning I cut up an apple.
I say house. And then you see something, I said, what is it made of? What do you say? What?
Well, see, I'm the kind of person to be like, well, that depends. Bricks, wood, concrete.
All right.
Wiring.
Look, Terrence Howard on you. Jones, what's 2 times 2? You gotta think about that one.
It's much more simple, right?
What's your dad's name? Immediately but the mind comes in pictures.
Yeah.
And if you know how to access some things about the mind, such as where these negative identities live and exist, and you can uncover that, the picture you get is like of negative emotions is huge. It could be as big as the universe, an ocean. And we're very, very small on that picture. But you can change that, switch it over. That's that wire, that channel. And the divine over self, the thought adjuster, actually dissolves that negativity and turns it positive. It does it naturally without you even having to try, if you can just access it. See? So it's interesting. We talk about different types of psychotherapy. They don't know how to access that, what we just talked about, because they don't know how the brain fully works like they're saying. Anyway, I'll shut up there. I just worked too long in that field with those people. And I worked with some great therapists, okay? Really good ones, but they're all cognitive behavioral therapy. And one of them was so good at taking book information, such as the salivating dogs, okay? And what does that really mean? How do we actually use that in terms of conditioning, classical conditioning with clients, especially ones that are either schizophrenic or bipolar? How do you actually use classical conditioning with them, or with somebody that's an offender? You know, it's one thing to read that stuff in the books in college. It's another thing to get in the field and actually apply it. So anyway, but I see so much of that doesn't work. Some of the therapies don't work. It doesn't get to what we just said.
Wow. You talked about the soul adjuster. When I was a kid, I had to spend a lot of time with the attitude adjuster. I'm just kidding. I got told all the time that I needed to change my attitude. I needed an attitude adjustment. So I just had to throw that out there. Just some of y'all can relate.
Okay. Hey, you do it better than me. I spent a lot of time in the SAC room, the Student Adjustment Center. I spent some time in the Student Adjustment Center, man. Sure did.
The Student Adjustment Center.
Yeah, it was terrible too. It was like a room that was like all white, and they had like these chalkboards around you so you couldn't see anything. And the one strip of wall right where the desk were, you see, was painted black. It was a wretched little room. The SAC room. Yeah. Anyway, I probably spent a lot of my junior high and high school years in the SAC room. Anyway. But yeah, so anyway, so these are just things, and and I'll throw this out again. I do a lot of sessions. If somebody wants to do like what I call trauma release, but really it's kind of erasing negative identities, because we make them in our minds. We can unmake them too. It's that simple. You know what I mean? More simple than it sounds. So I'm willing to work with people and just so you shoot me an email, barrylittleton13@gmail.com. And I'm trying to get back with people, but I think it's important, and so much that I'm being pushed more to talk about this now, because I want to start talking about them voices, but Spirit set that up. So, and it just ties in right with everything else.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that are dealing with this or know someone who does deal with it. And the more that I get into working in different communities and doing remote viewing with different people in different communities, especially the secret space program and stuff, there's a lot of, I deal with mind control too. Being a remote viewer, I've trained in mind control for many years now. And I use it regularly with my remote viewing and stuff. So it's fascinating. We're seeing now a lot more often. People are waking up to the truth, my opinion, that we are all being mind controlled terribly with Mockingbird media and all that kind of stuff. Just with frequencies, it's not just our minds, it's our environments are being controlled. It's almost like we're living in the Truman Show, kind of. Okay, it's the strangest thing. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm living in the Truman Show
or the Gong Show.
Like everything is set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, well, are we in a simulation or are we just in the Truman Show? Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
Or was there? There's two other shows, the Gong Show, or maybe the Whammy. Are we getting a whammy? Yeah, that's right. The Gong Show. I used to, what I liked the most about that show was there's two things: the unknown comic, the cat with the bag over his head, and then there was Mean Gene, the dancing machine that would come out and just dance. And he was a brother that worked on the boxes in the back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that show actually, and actually we've got Maureen in here. She has a gong. That's the girl in her gong. So
all right,
just
Chuck
just
Barris,
hit it whenever we need to get taken off stage, Maureen. Do what? What, Barry?
They say Chuck Barris worked for the CIA.
Oh, really? I'm not surprised. I mean, it seems like all of the people, a lot of people in Hollywood are working potentially. They said Elvis Presley used to as well.
You know who else? You know who was a sniper?
Who?
Mr. Rogers.
Oh my God.
I'm serious.
This is all allegedly YouTube.
Look it
Okay. It's for entertainment purposes
Fred
only.
Rogers was
All
military.
of this.
He was a sniper in the military.
Okay.
It's documented.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers. What
Yeah.
you be my neighbor?
You know what? It's usually people like that are the snipers. Right?
Lou Ferrigno's on his way back to Comic-Con here in my town. And I met him last time he was here. And I heard him saying something. He was saying how there was an episode of Mr. Rogers where he went to the set of The Incredible Hulk at Universal and watched Lou Ferrigno get the makeup on and interview Bill Bixby and everything. It was like one of the biggest children watch shows of all time or something. Lou Ferrigno was talking about that. I remember it. I remember running home as fast as I could that day after school, trying to catch the Mr. Rogers going to see The Incredible Hulk with Mr. McFeely. Was it his name, Mr.
God.
McFeely? Anyway, sorry. See, you can turn your son onto that now. You say, hey, Barry Littleton's talking about this. You hadn't showed him First Blood yet, so that's all right.
He may have seen First Blood already. I'm not sure. Have you seen First Blood, Ben? Okay. Have you seen First Blood? No, he hasn't. Not yet. We'll watch it though. Yeah.
I won't stand against the other. The Rambos, I don't think were as good, but the First Blood, that first movie was a good one. Very, very few sequels are ever good anyway, but.
Yeah. My kid will watch it. He's really into the Army stuff, any kind of military, special ops, black ops shows or whatever, any kind of, I think he's like Rambo. He's into Call of Duty. That's his thing.
How about Commando? Did you see Commando yet with Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, not yet.
That's a pretty good one too.
Yeah.
With Ray Dong Chong.
Yeah.
I was a fan.
Oh my gosh.
Tommy Chong's daughter. Yeah. So anyway, keeping it serious for a second though, just as far as the Bigfoot hand, that was just something, kind of extra. I thought it was just cool to look into. You get a killer job on that. The thing with the voices is very real. I want everybody to be aware that not all of our thoughts are our own, even for those of us that know how to protect ourselves. Okay. Number 3 is when dealing with the light, don't just listen to other people. Don't even listen to me. Look into it yourself. Do the research yourself. Feel, meditate, look into it yourself. This is about warriors take action. So use action is more than just talk. So anyway, those are the things I want to bring that up. And I don't want anybody, because you got good people in your group, really good people. Some of them communicate with me. We're not doing shows or anything. Really nice people. And I don't want any of them that might be looking for answers to hear that crap and just go for it. At least they get a platform to see what's what. You know what I mean? I think it's really important because there is the battle between light and dark right now. And Jessica, it's at an apex. I think you can probably agree with that. It's like an apex right now.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got to protect ourselves every day, energetically and spiritually, physically too. I do. And so I recommend everybody listening, everybody watching, do the same. Protect yourself.
Hey,
and what, Barry? Yes.
I got one for you. So I got a request for a new client request. And one of the things they want to go over is them being saved from a dumb by the hold on, wait a minute. What's the Galactic Federation? And they want to do a session over that. And you know what? Especially after having you remote view the Zimbabwe children and the other school incidents and coming up with that, my whole thing was I want to know what was the organization that was behind warning the children who are our future. Who are the ones that are showing this technology that are stopping these missiles and messing with these bases and the nuclear codes? And you came up with the Galactic Federation. I couldn't believe it, man. You know how much I've been clouded. It's not that I don't think the organization exists, but it's just a corny name. It's worse than like the Federation on Star Trek. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, it's like a real organization. And the organization I deal with sounds just as silly, the name. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But in terms of what that individual wants to go over there, I believe it's very real. They're saying they got saved by something really horrible by this sorry, what's it again? Galactic, what is it?
Federation?
No. What do they call it again? No, it's not. See, now I'm thinking of Federation of Planets, and that's messing me up now. No, the Galactic Federation. Sorry, Galactic. Is that it?
Yeah, Galactic Federation.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's so it's reality though, you know. Yeah, I mean, you felt them, didn't you? You got a little emotional on that one.
Yeah, I did.
Question. Do you think they're also connected to the beings that were communicating with you concerning the crop circles? Do you think there's a connection there?
I don't know. You know, that there could be, but those crop circles, remember the original crop circles were being made by something that came directly from source, according to that data. Okay, so whether they did or not, it wasn't in the data, so I don't know. I'd have to go back in and dig a little deeper into those targets, do another session and find out.
That was I think the most positive one we've done, maybe. It was really positive, I thought.
Well, there was a good message there.
The most emotional I've seen you get on any of them so far too.
Oh yeah. Well, it was just a good message. It's a good message. You know, when I'm channeling these messages, like nobody ever sees me when I'm doing the actual targets. When I'm sitting by myself in my office, at the house, wherever I'm at doing targets, I'm going to say about 50% of these targets, I cry. Okay. Like I get really emotional when I say these things take a lot of energy to do. They really do. I mean, it's very taxing on the body and the mind and everything. And no matter how much protection you put up, it's still, especially when you're dealing with missing people or something that was traumatic that happened, it's very emotional. So I get very emotional with a lot of these targets. And if you're in my Patreon and you're seeing all my data and you see like emotional, crying, anything like that, just know that I was bawling my eyes out. Okay. During these targets. And I have to write all that down because it's all a part of the session. Okay, so anytime you see any kind of emotional data on there and it's in like the emotional impact column, that's me crying, okay, or getting sick or something, because I take on the energy of whatever I'm remote viewing. A lot of times I'm there with the person. I'm in there. I'm seeing their eyes, you know, like I'm there. So
I think it's worth mentioning too that shows how what you do is much more in depth than just astral seeing something and astral viewing something. It's different, you know, and that isn't as taxing on the body as what you're doing, especially if you do a quote unquote deep dive, right?
Deep mind probe with a B, probe. I do have to, I don't have to, but a lot of times when I find an individual in the environment, when I'm remote viewing, because everybody knows these are blind targets and I don't know what I'm looking at, but I do locate consciousness in these sometimes, you know, or like a person, and I'm getting all this data. And so I can assume there's pretty on target. I can say, okay, well, there's somebody here. And so let me find out like what they want. Where are they? Why am I here? You know, like what's going on here? And, you know, I've actually helped to locate a general area of where people had been left when they were unalived and stuff. Okay. Like people who I've been given high priority targets to. And I detect someone, I see someone, and I can, like in one instance, I can just give an example. This is not on the topic of what we were talking about tonight, but this is, you know, remote viewing wise. For example, there was a young man who had gone missing. I didn't know. I was just given some numbers. I was remote viewing a man here in Georgia who had gone missing and nobody could find him. And his people had assumed that his wife had done something to him or whatever. The last place he was seen was at a gas station where he was working. He was a retired veteran. And the wife, he went and stayed at his buddy's house that he worked with one night, and then he was never seen again. And the buddy said that he had gone home, and it didn't add up because his wife was like, no, he never came home, that they'd had an argument. And so I was remote viewing this. I was actually I was asked to remote view this one for a pretty famous crime story show. Okay. And when I gave them all the data to this, I was like, okay, well, whoever this is, I made contact. I saw a man, and he was covered in mud, and all I saw were the whites of his eyes. And he kept telling me that he was locked up. He was buried. He was locked up, and that his teammate had done it. His teammate. And, but I was having a conversation with him, but all he could do was just look at me, and with his eyes, and I could see the mud all over his face. And the people that were at that show were like, no, we've already checked out the guy he was with. There's no way he did it. And I was like, well, he's ran away, and all my data was just like, okay, well, here's the data. You can have it or not, take it or leave it. And about a month or two later, guess what happened, Barry? It turned out his friend that was with him unalived him and buried him underneath the back porch, and he was buried under that porch in the mud. So, and he ran away. It was all in my data, all of it. So anyways, that's how it works though. Okay. So that's what, to explain like remote viewing and stuff. That's how it works. You go into these targets and you pick up on somebody, and I can do a deep mind probe. And yes, it does take a lot out of me. It really does. But I also have a lot of, it's almost like satisfying to be able to help. Okay. And so it's like I've been trained to do it. Might as well do it for good and help. Okay. And, yeah, I never did get any kind of atta girl or anything from that. I was told there's no way that my data could be right. And I never heard back after that.
Of course not.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, kind of like, well, you probably wouldn't know this. There used to be one of my favorite movies was Stephen King's first book. It's called The Dead Zone. And it starts Christopher Walken, but they made it into a series called probably about 10 years ago, called the Dead Zone series. It starred, the guy, Anthony Hall from Weird Science. But he had an accident, a bad car accident, like me, and took brain injuries, like me. And he was in a coma, like me, but except for he was in for 5 years. And when he comes back out of it, he starts having psychometry when he touches people or things. And he actually saved this little girl from a fire, and then found out this serial killer in their city was actually one of the cops. But on the series, when it goes further, he starts trying to teach again. And he was a hockey coach, and he started to do some assistant coaching. And one of the star players comes up and shakes his hand after a game, and he starts seeing shit. He sees this kid laying on the ice like dead. And so he goes and tells him, the parents say, I think you need to take him and have his heart checked out or something. And he went to the took the kid to the doctors too. And the doctor's looking at him. We just tested him. There's nothing wrong with his arrhythmias. You think something's wrong because you had a vision, right? And they're dogging him, He substitutes the last game. They kicked the coach out. He has to take over the team. There's one goal away, and he sees this kid falling out again. So he pulls him out of the game. The star player, like a minute before the game's over. So they lost. People are throwing popcorn on them and throwing down Snickers on them. And the people got to get him out of there. And when his parents take this star player out, they're sitting in the car saying, we'll get him dismissed forever. And it's such and such. And they look back, and the kid's passed out back there on the thing. And it turns out he did have a heart arrhythmia. And we take him out. The doctors are saying that this would have happened during the peak athletic performance. He wouldn't have been so lucky. Yeah. Wow. So then when it's over, they're all standing in the hospital, he kind of walks by. He looks at him, and everybody just looks at him, kind of turns their head. No one acknowledged that he saved the cat's life. Nobody acknowledged he was right.
They're just mad he took the kid out of the game. I get it.
Yeah, but when
I totally get it.
when he got outside, all the reporters are there. Johnny, and they're touching. He's walking by. Oh God, please don't do it. Please don't touch me. And people are touching me. See, he's having all these visions of people doing all this stuff. One cat doing cocaine, one cat getting attacked by a shark, and all sorts of stuff. He's saying, "Don't do it. Don't touch me." Yeah.
Oh no.
Anyway,
Oh
just
man.
food for thought. I, of course, having to be that I went through TBI and a coma, I even resonated with that whole show more after that happened to me. You know what I mean? But what happened to me, I didn't quite have the cool cinema behind it. It was just a bunch of pain and life ruining stuff.
Yeah, well, it's for people who are very intensely psychic and pick up on things. It's hard to, if you even touch somebody, you can read their energy really well. And so I don't touch everybody, okay, and I don't let everybody touch me because I have actually gotten that before. When you shake somebody's hand or you get flashes of their life when you touch them, and that's why. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does.
It's just
Sure.
concerning. Yeah. And for me, when people come up, I could, especially when I was a kid, I thought everybody could do it. Read the stuff on the top of somebody's mind. I mean, not everything, but just the stuff right on the surface kind of comes through. And then I learned how to read body language and micro expressions. It just intensified it. You know what I mean? So I understand what you mean. Yeah, it can be very uncomfortable. When you touch somebody, start getting psychometry off of them, especially if it's bad stuff.
It's pretty wild though, right? It's like, wow, we just have humans are so capable of doing all of very amazing things like this telepathy and just reading energy and stuff. And remote viewing and whatever I'm doing, everybody else can do it too. Everybody can do it.
Spirit is on me to say something, so I'll just say it real quick. Concerning all the stuff we've been talking about, everybody be very careful. Be very careful of who you're listening to, who you're following. That's you and I included. Use discernment and be aware that when looking at these targeted individuals and that you're actually having this technology that is people putting like a mind-to-mind interface, a computer-to-brain interface, it's a hive mind. And, right now I'm hearing like, in some of these communities, oh, I had a dream that such and such and such and such, we're all the leaders of disclosure and ascension and we're ahead of that and everything. And the other people, oh my gosh, I had that dream too. That's that targeted dream incubation thing, this whole hive mind thing. Well, it's real easy to get involved in that. And we're talking about this evil stuff, this negative stuff. These voices, listen to me, please. These voices operate like a hive mind, big time, Yeah. So it's just things for us to be careful that the hive mind, whether it's computer brain interface, brain to brain.
Yeah. I mean, we talked several times. What's up, Drewski, by the way? Hey, thanks for being here, Cryptid Warfare. And to Daryl and to Susan. I've seen several, and to David Pardue. I've seen a bunch of my teammates in here tonight. So thanks. Shout out to all my boots on the ground folks up in here tonight. But we've talked about like the advertising that can get into your dreams. I mean, we got to be real careful about our cell phones being right beside us while we're sleeping at night. And I don't even know if it's your cell phone. It could be your Wi-Fi. It could be your towers outside your house. I don't know how this stuff works. Okay, but somehow there is a way to get into our dream state with this technology. So I always say that I wake up wanting a McGriddle or something. I don't know. I don't even eat those, by the way. Okay, I just said that. Even I don't eat those. I don't know, right?
McGriddle, no.
No, right? I don't even know. I don't even know if they still make those. I have no idea. A muffin or something.
Some ways that they can infiltrate through the dream state is one, they can use microwave pulses and also sound. Sound engineering is a big one. They use sound, and through the sound, they use the audio spotlight. And that's what makes people hear voices through the V2K. But when dealing with things like, right now, they're even engineering these ads that you see on Facebook and stuff to where, like, you're seeing things, you wake up craving something that you didn't even think about because you saw it before you just fell asleep or something, like burritos. You wake up wanting burritos. They're catering that stuff. But that's just the the basic part of it. The targeted dream incubation is when they take it much, much, much further. But it's that same way that they're able to read us and target us for commercials and things through our phones. It's the same type thing. So to definitely be aware of, you know.
Oh yeah, be aware. Be aware.
And
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 go
I
ahead.
mentioned too that some of the haunted places I've located or been visited or had to work out of or something. A lot of times they're near like power stations, large antennas and stuff. They're near those areas. So that says something else about how that disrupts things to be more haunted locations even. So
Yeah. Well, and then I mean, we could talk about this stuff all night, because then we got, even X-ray machines, bring in the ghosts and the dark entities and hospital. Everywhere we go,
machines.
there's a lot of just all the technology that we have right now is a like conductor for like paranormal stuff, I guess. So, and we, even with Sherry Divband, Sherry was amazing coming on the show. Was it last week or week before last? We talked about her kidnapping. And, the first time I saw her speak was at the Journey to Truth conference. And she talked about the black boxes being the portals and the dark entities coming out of them. So we got to be careful with everything. Mirrors, TVs. It's like our cell phones, our Wi-Fi systems. It's like everything is just here to screw with us, it seems like. What do we do, Barry?
I didn't. That's one show I missed it. I'll have to go back and watch that one.
Oh, it's so good. Sherry is amazing. Very brave to come on the show to discuss her kidnapping when she was a kid.
Yeah, it's nothing easy to talk about.
Yeah,
for
sure.
She's obviously done a lot of inner work. That's cool. I respect that. By all means.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe we could wrap it up because we've gone like 2.5 hours tonight. Let's find a kind of a wrap up point tonight, because I know a lot of us have kids that have school in the morning and stuff, and on the East Coast it's getting late. So
wrap up point. Everything I said is right. That's wrap up point.
That's a wrap up. Barry's 100% on point every time. You usually are, Barry. So
no.
Yeah.
It always seems that way in cyberspace, my friend. Right. Was that ingenious? I would have been wearing my seatbelt that day and straightened myself a whole lot. Anyway, but no, just wrapping it up seriously, I think that just the things that are really is this supports about the light and that there's a great deception going on. This is another thing that shows that, okay? And that's why I went for the evidence and data, because I wanted that to be shown by data, not just me saying it and telling you what I've experienced through my work. But that also helps support it as well. So these are things supporting that the light is not the trick, okay? And when dealing with the false light that you might experience from this technology they have, know the difference between the living light of like the sun and the cold light of the moon. And when you're out of your body, you do have a lot of discernment, more than what people are telling you. After you go through that shock, you have a great deal of discernment. The other thing would be to be aware that the voices that you might be hearing are not all yours, that some of the people you may know, they're telling you they hear voices. Maybe they're not just schizophrenics with really, really bad brain imbalances. They're being attacked by an external source. Okay, once we realize that the voices we hear are not all of our own, especially the negative ones, they always have negative things to say, is an external enemy. Once you realize that, it changes the battleground. Okay. And as far as the hand on there, I think you kind of nailed that. But those are just the things I thought that bring those two, and why those two subjects, target 2 and 3, correlate with each other. So, and something I do want to apologize. I did throw a name out there, and I'm sorry, put that on me. That's not your thing. Put it on me, bad guy. That's all right. So I do apologize for that. I don't want to put you in jeopardy because I mentioned a name or something. That was me on me 100%. So.
Well, I think that was a Bigfoot hand. Okay. So the hand of unknown origin, if I had to take a wild guess, according to the data, I think that I had something to do. It was a little squatchy. Okay. But that's just from the data. I love these blind targets because it's just like, why would that even be on there if it wasn't probably a Bigfoot? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You put that in the data, Bigfoot. You had that
Yeah.
word in there, Bigfoot.
Yep.
Another one
sure
that shocked
did.
me. I mean, I knew that the hand had to have been real. I mean, it's been too much. Just so I didn't do the analysis. I knew it was real. And Don and MK wouldn't just make that up like that, you know? And
Yeah.
that was very interesting. And your friend's evidence equal as interesting, you know? I appreciate him
Oh,
sharing
David
that.
Pardue's. Yeah. Well, the hand he was telling me today, I was actually talking to him. He said that the handprint that he has on that I showed earlier is the same size in length and width of the hand that they have that they're calling the hand of unknown origin. So I'll show for anybody because we have people in here that weren't here earlier tonight. I will show this hand. This is it right here. It's around the same round. This is a print. This was in North Carolina at one of his research areas. At a national forest, by the way. And that's a 9-inch handprint from the bottom of the wrist up to the finger. And that's the same size as this hand that we've been talking about tonight. Okay, so and that's a big footprint right there. A Bigfoot handprint. A big hand. That's a big hand from a Bigfoot. What? Oh God, the chat has been off the chain tonight. I know we had a lot of.
Said it looks like Luke Skywalker's hand. That's when I look over there, I start laughing and stuff. That's he's looking for his head. I think I offended somebody at the last conference because there was a guy that was doing this Jedi training thing, and it looked like it was actually pretty cool. I didn't get to stay for it, but I had said before I went up there and spoke, I said, I got to watch you Jedis. Can't always trust you Jedis. Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of the biggest liars in cinematic history. He actually said, what do you mean by that? How did Obi-Wan lie? I said, well, in the first Star Wars, he gave Kid the lightsaber and said, this was your dad's. He wanted you to have it. And Luke's going, oh. When the truth, he should have said, actually, the truth is, Kid, I took that from your father when I cut off his arms and his legs and left him to burn in an acid pit. And also, by the way, he killed a whole bunch of kids in the Jedi Temple with that. But hey, man, it's yours, take it.
Sorry, I don't know a whole lot about Star Wars and stuff.
Somebody out there knows, and they know I'm right. Yeah. Obi-Wan was a liar.
Oh no. It's all up for debate. Yeah, it's all about perspective, right? I actually so I didn't go over all my data for the last target of the light, but Jedi was included in my data, by the way. I wrote Jedi.
Did I cut you off before you got done with that?
I never even went over all that data, but it's okay because really the majority of that data was just like infinity and infinite possibilities and stuff like that. A lot of like infinite stuff and Jedi data. It's okay.
Oh, sorry if I did. I tried to never cut you off. I got way too hyped on that subject, Yeah. And it's some of the work that I've done.
Antarctica was in that too, by the way. That data.
In that one?
Yeah.
Really?
Antarctica and Alaska. It said over Antarctica and over Alaska. It was above it, so it wasn't like in it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to see the data, y'all go to my Patreon. It's in the Patreon. Okay, but yeah, we just went over the first page. It's okay, but it's already 2.5 hours in, and I got to get my kid to bed. So we're good. This has been a fantastic show, and I have really enjoyed it, Barry. Where can everybody find you? Tell the audience where they can find you.
Thank you for doing the targets. Thank you for having me on, and thank you to the audience from the bottom of my heart. Seriously, you can reach me at barrylittleton13@gmail.com is my email address. I do a little bit of work on Patreon. I'm about to bring that to an end and shut that down. But I am on YouTube under Barry Littleton. Do a lot of stuff on YouTube. Got a lot of stuff up there. If you decide to check it out, please subscribe, press the bell, and also please check out the playlist. A lot of stuff that never comes up if you don't look at the playlist.
Oh yeah. There is so much good information and great videos on your channel, Barry, and your Patreon as well. So thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for these great targets. I'm always impressed.
The last two were really important to me, so thank you. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, that first one was important to me too. So Yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from these targets, and I learned a lot from talking to you about them and us having these discussions, and the audience having their input as well. I learned a lot from the live chats, and I want to thank everybody for all the live chats. Everybody that was in here in the chat room tonight, you guys are awesome. We had a lot. We had a good bit of people in here tonight. We had a good crowd, and everybody adds something to the show when you're leaving comments. So don't ever be scared to leave comments, y'all. I know not everybody watching participates in the chat, but please do. It's fun. Okay. And I have the best mods in the business.
I bet you was going fast too, wasn't it? Was it going
fast? Really fast. I can't keep I try to click on a comment. If you guys wonder, like I try to click on a comment and they move really quickly. So like I hit the wrong ones and like I can't see and they're going. It's just man, I'm a one-woman show over here. Okay. And so I do the best I can. I do the best I can. I try, but I can't get all the comments up. There's just a lot. So, but thank y'all so much. Please come back and see me, y'all, on Saturday night. We will be going on the hunt at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I can promise you it's going to be a fantastic show. Also, be sure to check me out on Spotify and all the podcasting platforms. You can listen to me on the way to work, at work, whatever, on podcast format. Okay. So, thank you, Barry, for being here tonight. Thank you to my Patreon members, to all the channel members. You guys rock. Okay, everybody here. And I guess I will see you guys, Saturday. Okay, Barry? Thanks again for being here. Stay safe out there, y'all. Stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel and lock your doors tonight. Okay, lock your doors. And I'll see y'all next time. Y'all have a great night. Bye, Barry. Beep, beep.